And we are live. I'm Anthony Dream Johnson, founder of 21 Studios, hosting today's episode of the Redman Group, episode 39. It's been a while since I've hosted. The guys knew that when that happened. I was leading up to the convention. I needed a few weeks off to focus on the event and after as well. Happy to be back in the saddle and join my fellow masculine compadres here. I got Donovan Sharpe broadcasting live from TSR Towers. Got Ryan Stone, the fourth R of the Manosphere. Rollo Tomassi from the Rational Male headquarters. And we got Steve the Dean Williams, and new today to the show. He was recently on Donovan Sharpe's show, and he's a dating coach from themanmindset.com. Also, we have Karl, who's figuring out some technical issues from Black Level Logic. He should be joining us, and maybe one or two more speakers throughout the show. With that said, gentlemen, thanks for joining me for episode 39. Let's kick some ass.
Right on, right on.
Thanks. Can you get my audio now?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yep.
Good.
You sound extra nerdy.
What was that?
Talk shit.
Well, of course I sound extra nerdy. I've been trying to sort this technical issue out for 15 fucking minutes.
This is
before we get going too, today's topic for the show is authority versus responsibility. And after that, we're going to discuss 22 Convention, 22 Con, and Make Women Great Again.
Woo! All right, you guys want to do roundtable?
Do it.
Why not?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's start with Karl. Karl's off right now. Let's go with Donovan. What you been doing this week, Donovan?
And had a great week of shows. Kicked it off with Karl. Actually, he brought up some statistics about Black women in terms of the baby daddy percentages, STDs, et cetera. Naturally, I caught a lot of blowback from that. So which means that we're telling the truth. Had one guy call in and say, "Oh, you're all in your feelings," and I said, "No, these are actually just facts." Had some fun with him. He's a regular troll of mine. I also talked about the quote unquote pro-black clickbait politicians. I got into a live debate. Somebody actually took me up on a live debate about a Facebook post. There he is. To talk about a Facebook post, and he didn't really have any talking points. All of his arguments were Facebook memes and clickbait headlines. There was absolutely zero substance. Made a complete fool out of that guy. He actually made a complete fool out of himself. Had a guy on talk about the swinger life, the pros and cons of swinging with my girlfriend. Then I had Kevin Samuels on from buykevinsamuels.com. We talked about what your clothes say about you as a man. Very, very good informational show about guys who are looking to tighten up their style game. Talked a little bit about ultimatums. And then, of course, yesterday, I had Illimitable Man on the show. I hadn't had him on the show since May. This is his 14th appearance. But I had a great week of shows. Got a greater week of shows. I'm going to have Karl again on. I plan to have Rollo and Steve on. Good God, I'm loaded with guests. DonovanSharpe.com, Patreon.com/Donovan Sharpe. And that's what I've been doing.
Sweet. Ryan, what you got going? Ryan, unmute.
There we go. Where to start? So finally decided to stop treating this thing as a hobby. After 21 convention, I'm not going to lie, and I'm sure you had the same experience. After hearing the 12th guy talk about how he's been walked back from suicide, I realized that maybe this is the kind of thing you should probably start taking a little more seriously. So I've started up ryanstone.com. I'm slowly moving the blog over there now. At this point, I'm starting off with coaching services. The idea is, and it's weird because I think I've been babied a little bit too much with the married red pill. I take for granted that a lot of guys already know even the simple things like what's the difference between amused mastery, a green amplifier, just fogging, like basic techniques. And then a lot of people just don't know this stuff, but they talk a lot about red pill. So I thought for like relationship game, there's really not a lot out there. I mean, there's Hunter and that's Tex and that's pretty much it. So start with the coaching for now for people who can't wait long for me to get the full course load out. For people who want a specialized plan for them. Also, something else I found out from 21 Con, this is coming down the pipe, is that a lot of guys don't really have a very good security awareness mindset. So I'm going to be putting out another course on OPSEC. I mean, there's a lot of guys that just want to talk about politics without worrying about losing their job or having their families harassed. So there'll be some good content in there for guys to navigate the internet. I figure from my military career, I was one of the top cyber warfare people on the organization since about 2010. Might as well start making that work for everybody else. A lot of training from CSIS and the RCMP. So that's going to be fun coming down the pipe. And now at this point, the book's going full bore. So stay tuned for that. The email list is out. If you haven't signed up for it yet, please do so now. That's ryanstone.com/newsletter. Put your email address in there. I've already sent the transcripts from the 21 convention. I've edited it so it's an easier read. It's in 17 parts because nobody's got time to read 10,000 words on an afternoon or a lunch break. So part 1 and 2 are out. DM me if you've missed those. Hopefully we can get you back on board and we can get you into the rest of that. And just stay tuned. Instagram's going hard. I guess you guys have seen the Ireland thing. Kind of got in touch with my half Irish roots. So, and that's it for me for this week. Next week, I'll have another giant update for you.
Rollo, what you been up to?
Oh, geez. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, first of all, just this morning, I have got the notice that my YouTube channel, the one I just launched, is at 100 or is at 1,000 subs. So
Nice. Fuck
so
yeah.
that's with one video that I did on Sunday with Pat Campbell. I've been doing some stuff with him. People were asking why the last week's episode got pushed off, or we had to like take it down for a little bit. We had some technical issues. I had to like cut some parts out of it just for copyright difficulties, and then put it back up again. You probably didn't even notice what's going on with it. So that people kept asking me about that, so I figured I better say something about that. So I'm at 1,000 subs right now for a channel that's existed for all of a week, which is nice. The audio book right now for book 3 for Positive Masculinity is now again back with Audible. We had some technical issues with that where they wanted to hear like room noise or something. I can't even remember what it was all about, but it was just like a technical thing where we're kind of getting nitpicked technically. And Sam seems to think that maybe it's the vetting process of Audible right now that's holding us up, simply because they don't like what's being, the information that I'm putting forward in that book. But we'll see. We've given them everything that they asked for, and now we're gonna just kind of find out whether they're fucking with us or they're not fucking with us. So we'll see. The audiobook should be out this month. I would expect probably within the next couple of weeks it'll be there. They're gonna, every time you send it back to Audible, they say it'll be anywhere between 7 and 14 days. And every time I do, it's usually 13 or 14 days. So I think they just kind of drag their feet. I'm starting a new email list. I've never liked doing that. I hate doing the email list, but the one thing that the 21 convention sort of taught me is that I need to just do just some quick hit emails for my readers, because I get so many damn questions at the 21 convention. And I really want to have a little bit more personal engagement with them. So I'm kind of starting up an email list. I always had an email list, but I didn't really put it in anybody's face, or I didn't have any pop-ups or anything for an email list. I still don't think I'm going to do that, but I'm going to take my email list a little bit more seriously, because I have so many questions from guys, and I can't keep answering those questions in a full 3,000 word post that I do, because I'm primarily a writer. And I need to stay in that lane, but I also need to have my time where I don't have any other distractions going on around. I mean, sometimes I'll even just leave the studio and I'll go somewhere else. I'll take my laptop and I'll go write, because I need to be away from the environment so I can focus on things. And when I'm doing that, that doesn't really leave me a lot of time for personal engagement, and I kind of want to step that up a little bit. So that's why I'm doing that. One thing I did see this morning is a story on CNN, and maybe we want to talk about this at some point, but about 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I think maybe it was before the convention, I had made just a passing tweet about how the Me Too movement was being weaponized. Now, of course, the events with the Kavanaugh hearing and everything else didn't disappoint. I mean, you can pretty much see how exactly what I was talking about when I said that Me Too is being weaponized to be used against men, both in divorce situations, in public situations, in work situations. There's so many different applications that Me Too has right now, and I think that women are beginning to really understand this. So what I proposed is that I said that the enthusiastic consent movement right now, which is the supposedly the next addendum, I think, to the yes means yes kind of thing. Now it's first it was no means no, then it was yes means yes. Now it's kind of like, well, even yes doesn't mean yes. And now it's like enthusiastic consent. And I said enthusiastic consent will be mixed or will be paired with Me Too to essentially make every man who has ever been married a rapist. Because if a woman is having duty sex with that guy, if a woman is having quote unquote now service sex with that guy, that is going to be equated with marital rape. And people lost their fucking minds. They lost their minds because I said something like duty sex. I said women having duty sex will be construed as not being enthusiastic. And if it's not enthusiastic sex, then it will be rape. And then what I'm also seeing right now too, maybe we should probably do a full show about this at some point.
Yeah.
What I'm also seeing right now is the transition from enthusiastic consent from being taken outside of the realm of just dating to inside marriages. So when we see fewer and fewer marriages coming together, what does that mean? That means that fewer and fewer people or fewer and fewer attorneys and women are going to be getting the payday that divorce means to them. So there's got to be new ways and new means to get that payoff. So what I'm seeing is that Me Too in a work situation, all it has to be is allegations and all it has to be is suspicions for a woman to get paid out of court. Well, what if that woman is married herself? If it's non-enthusiastic sex and we live in a weaponized Me Too culture, it's 1 degree away from a divorce attorney saying, oh, did you ever have duty sex with your husband? Yes. Well, he's a rapist then. And so now we basically have established a abusive relationship within the marriage, and now we can get to the payoff. So we could probably talk about that, but I was just going to say is like I had posted this thing, and that was the premise of my post, and I had mentioned something just in passing. I said, duty sex will, like the starfish duty sex that women have to maintain the marriage. It's a common term used, particularly in evangelical Christian, church culture, because they want to say, well, you got to have sex with your husband because that's what the Bible says, and it's duty sex, right?
People have sex with her. Is that duty sex?
Yeah. Well, yeah, pretty much. Well, I was going to say is that if she's having sex with you and she's not 100% enthusiastic about it, then it is rape. And even if she thinks back to a time where she had duty sex with you 10 years ago, well, there's no statutes of limitations for Me Too. So now that's rape as well. So if that any one time, I mean, if you look at the Kavanaugh hearing, we had an incident that the woman can't even remember about. And by the way, one of his accusers just came up and said, I lied about it. I straight up bullshitted about it. And nobody's
met him. She never even met him.
Never even met him, but she was happy to go up there because she thought it was going to be a payday. Nobody is covering this right now, and nobody is going to cover that right now. So anyways, I said something about duty sex, and people lost their minds. Now, this morning, I'm reading this article on how women should hold out on their husbands and withhold quote unquote service sex from their husbands unless they go and they vote correctly, unless they vote for the right candidates on Tuesday. Yeah. It's basically I don't know if you guys are familiar with the story of Lysistrata, but it's like, all the women in ancient Athenian Greece decided they were going to hold out on their men so that they could stop a war or something like that. And if you know the end of that story, it doesn't end well. But I was just going to say is like, I had mentioned duty sex and people ran me up the flagpole for that. Here's this NPC from CNN saying exactly the same thing, and nobody says anything. Nobody gives a rat's ass when it comes from this. So you know what? NPCs, fuck you.
I love the new Rollo.
Yeah,
Rollo has been on fire for like.
Oh god damn it, man! I mean, it's like I get.
Tell me what you really think.
Yeah,
Rollo.
This is the Rollo who was on stage this year. This was so awesome to see. Like, it's funny how like my haters are starting to back up off of me.
But anyways, and the other thing I wanted to throw out there is, yes, I do have a new channel. It's just something I'm doing casually. I don't do it for more than an hour. I'm calling it Red Pill 101 because I'm trying to do what Ryan has been doing, is sort of cover the basics. Because just because I have written 3 books, and just because I have, I like to get, like, my latest post right now is about alpha widows and war brides, and the connection between those two, and the dynamics between those two sort of phenomenons. And so I'm throwing this stuff out there. I'm expecting people to understand all this. And then I've got some guy who just, picked up my book yesterday and goes, "What's a war bride?" And so I have to kind of keep up with sort of the 101 so people really get an understanding of that. So that's what the channel's for.
I love pairing your book with Sean Smith's book because they go, I think, hand in hand really well. Mm-hmm. His book's more kind of like mainstream, and then yours has more of the terminology. Yeah. And I think it's a really good pairing like that. But before we move off, Rollo, what's up in the pipeline for posts? Anything upcoming?
You mean for me?
Yeah.
Right now, I'm probably going to write something very similar to what we're about to talk about. I'm not going to lie. A lot of my material is sort of being gleaned from conversations I'm having. One of the best things about the 21 convention is that when I'm talking to guys, I'm there and I'm on a call 24/7. And so everybody noticed this about me. I'm always got a notebook in my hand. I'm writing down ideas, and I'm writing down things that sort of occur to me while I'm there and having these conversations. So I'm probably going to write about authority and responsibility very soon.
Nice. Steve, you're new to the show. What have you had going on new in life and work lately? What's going on?
First off, I want to say I appreciate y'all for having me here. First off, I just want to say thank you. But
hell yeah,
I appreciate that. But yeah, so what's going on here with the Man Mindset? We're just off the aftermath of what we call the Halloween game, where I showed guys how to pull women on Halloween. The trick or treat game we gave them, where they can pull women handing out candy and shit. But Halloween,
awesome. This is great.
Yeah, but the Halloween game, what we're doing is we're kind of on the aftermath of that part, where now the women are responding back to the guys. I had them wear a suit. That what we did is we had them wear a costume, a handmade costume of a fortune teller for sexy single women. So when they got there, all the women approached them. They would twirl the women around, and they would hold up 3 tarot cards. They would say, "You look like the kind of woman that wants a good man, and you look like the kind of woman who wants fun." And then the third card would be their phone number. And they say, "Well, take this number, call me." And all those wishes have come true. So now they are getting a lot of callback from the women. So now they're like, "Oh shit, what do I do now?" So we're kind of working on that right now. And also, I'm working on when she comes over, I do a cooking show for guys as well, to show them how to make like breakfast things and desserts for women when they are dating and stuff like that. And Tuesday, I got my radio shows where we are pushing guys to get away from the thinking that money, clothes, and things outside of yourself are things that are going to attract women in. So we're always pushing the narrative. When you see a woman, you always got to communicate with transparency, send clear, concise messages, and always when you text, talk, or meet a woman, do it in an impactful way. And let's see, last but not least, just working on just getting these guys to open up and know more about their king, their man, their warrior, and their lover on Tuesdays when we do our radio show.
And by the way,
this is awesome.
5-hour show on his own. He was on the air for 5 hours, man. I could never do that. I talk a lot. I couldn't do that.
Steve, where are you based at too?
I'm in Texas. I'm in Texas, man. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, man.
Well, I'm from DC, but live in Texas now. Yeah.
Nice. Karl, you ready to go with your mic?
Yeah, I think so. Let me know if it breaks up. It's typical. When you only bring one mic, this is what happens. Usually I travel with 3 or 4.
We're missing your face too. We got the Anon thing going on here.
Yeah, I had to log on a different account because Google didn't recognize this device, because I also tend to switch out my laptop every couple of weeks for OPSEC reasons. So I just buy a new one for cash. But Ryan will cover that in his OPSEC course, I'm sure. I mean, nothing tells me that a man knows how to keep his identity safe online than showing his face online to thousands of viewers every week.
It's going to be millions soon. Don't worry. We're putting a speech out soon from last year. Never mind the new stuff. So,
No, so what's new with me? I put up an essay this week. It's another one in the online game series. I've been thinking about doing some more of that practical Tinder stuff on the Patreon because I have to produce some Patreon-only content now too for the guys who are actually paying for it. So it's an interesting because I'm starting to formulate up game as from a sales perspective and how you would treat it in doing corporate sales. So I'm still waiting for Salesforce to do their Tinder integration, but I'm hoping that's in the pipeline. They won't reply to my tweets.
Damn.
But if you guys get behind that and everyone keeps pestering them, maybe they'll do something. I don't know. Like I said last week, I finished the first draft on Gendernomics version 2, so that should be coming out in December, provided I can do all the proofreading. And I also have a lot of stuff going on privately now, so you guys know about it because I've told you about it in our DM channel, but it's not public yet, but there should be some interesting news on that coming soon too.
Karl, with the book, is it an update of the original, like a big update, or it's like actual secondary, like sequel?
No, I'm doing an update on the old one too. So for those who don't know, that book had some issues with it, so I'm going to go through that. I'm going to fix up a lot of it. I'm probably going to change up the cover to get them all looking like serial, like with what Rollo's been doing with his books.
Cool.
And so with that note, all the ones that are sold before that with the old cover in paperback will probably become collectibles at some point. So those, if you want those, go ahead and grab them now before December when I should switch all of that out. And the new one is more of a practical one. The old one was kind of an overview of the sexual marketplace from both the big picture and the individual perspective. And this one is very focused on giving a methodology for how to build your value as a man. Now, I'm not going into details like you should lift weights this way or you should dress this way. I mean, we have guys like AJA Cortez that does training and nutrition. We have guys like Tanner and Well Built Style that do clothes, etc. So I'm not going into detail, but I'm trying to give guys a general methodology for kind of coordinating all of this because I kept seeing guys who find the red pill and they want to do everything at once. They're going to learn game. They're going to put on 30 pounds of muscle. They're going to drop 50 pounds of fat. They're going to straighten out their bank accounts. They're going to switch their jobs up. They're going to start constantly dating and so on. And they try to do everything at once and it backfires on them. So I'm trying to give them a methodology for kind of making sure they can get everything done, but doing it in a prioritized way so you get progress, but you don't fuck yourself over and end up in 3 months half dead.
Nice.
I think it's fun. A lot of guys try when they first find the red pill, and I did this when I did this when I first found the red pill. You try to hit a 5-run homer or hit a 4-pointer. It doesn't work that way. You can work on things here and there, but you really do have to focus on one thing at a time. That way you get it right. And then at some point they all become habit, then you can go full bore on everything. So I think it's important for guys to understand that yes, pickup game is important. Learning how to handle women is important. Fitness, financial shrewdness is important. But just like Karl said, you can't do it all at once. Guys get burned out, they get overwhelmed, and they end up in the purple pill or they become a low-level MGTOW.
Well, I did a rant on this in my essay this week because I was kind of trying to explain something to guys with, if you have a count that, let's say for 100 approaches, you get laid 1.4 times in the end, because for 100 approaches, you may get 20 numbers. Out of those 20, maybe 7 of them respond. Out of those 7, maybe 5 agree to go out on a date. And out of those 5, you manage to lay like 1 or 2 of them on average. Now, if you double your approaches and you do 200 approaches, you should hit, 3 girls a month. But if you do 200 fucking approaches in a month, you're doing that as a full-time job. Because if you count an average of like 15 minutes per approach, you're approaching for 60 hours a month. That's a full work week of just approaches. So you kind of have to deal with, once you hit about, let's say, 100 approaches a month, that's 33 hours a month. That comes out to something like 6-7 hours a week. That's an hour a day. That's manageable. But once you get to that point, you kind of have to be more effective with the girls you're approaching, how you take that from approach to date to lay, because you can't just do more and more approaches forever. You have to become effective with your game, not just spam approach. That works for real social dynamics when they're on cocaine, but it doesn't work for anyone else.
Savage.
Well, hey, Karl, listen, we got to do that collab, right? How to Become a Man. What is it? In 24 hours, we drop you in Vegas with cocaine and trenbolone or something like that?
Yeah, that was the. I'm inspired by Hunter and Craig James over at the Fraternity of Excellence. I think we're going to call it 31 Minutes to Masculinity. We
Yes.
just give you a line, a shot, and inject you with a massive dose of trenbolone.
Maybe some TRT in there as well. Gives
You know
them boost the T up.
31 minutes to man.
So before we kick off into the show, what's going on with me? I'm still wrapping up from the convention. And actually, the event for me is not over quite yet. It'll be over soon. We still have kind of announcements to roll out. The photos are coming out today. We're actually publishing today on 21 University, Rollo Tomassi's 21 report with George Bruno. I just watched the whole thing yesterday. It was fucking awesome. So we have a lot of stuff going on. The Redman Group episodes are almost done. We're working on Rollo's keynote. I was watching some of that yesterday myself. It was fucking awesome. And it looks beautiful. The camera angles, it's so powerful. Rollo's on fire. The cameras are on fire. Everything's awesome. Well, not literally on fire, but, you know. Unfortunately, the last Sunday, I went to lunch with one of the new camera guys from the event, and I got, I think, salmonella, and that absolutely knocked the fucking wind out of me for about 3 days. I lost 5 pounds in like the first 48 hours.
That'll do it.
And I probably should have gone to the hospital. Like, it was getting fucking bad, man. And it felt like a week went by, but it was only a couple days. But it was a physical reality check that I made it through the event without getting sick, which is pretty cool. Meeting all these people, all these germs and shit going around. But then a couple weeks later, damn, that was the second time in my life I had that. I had it about 5 years ago too, and it did fucking blows. But that's all gone now. I'm feeling fucking awesome. Making women great again every day. I've been talking to Donovan too. I think next week I'm going to go on Donovan's show.
Yep.
I got Craig James and Hunter Drew. They're going to have me on their podcast again soon. There's just tons of shit going on. The whole company, I'm realizing, is evolving, is what we realized. We've been talking about. It's not just growing like it does every year from the event, and that's like a big update. This is a level of enthusiasm, interaction, and like so many human beings and men involved with this now. It's radically and rapidly changing and growing. The company is different now than it was a month ago, like fundamentally. For the first time in my life, I had asked somebody how many people work for me. Like, I literally didn't know. That's so much shit we have going on. It's fucking awesome. And 2019 is looking unbelievably badass. We're planning Poland. That's going to be in July. And then America, of course, again in Florida will be in November. Already working on those. I'm talking to Rollo about maybe flying him out to Poland, all kinds of cool shit, to scout the venues and pick everything out with the director. So I have a lot going on right now. But it's fucking awesome. I'm living the dream, right? Living the dream. And this is at an intensity I've never done before. This event, everyone I think was overwhelmed in a very positive way, but that's happened to me at an intensity I've never seen. And I always had this like super high expectations of myself and the event, and we blew past those in every way.
You're putting in 15 hours a day leading up to the convention. You're putting in 15, 16-hour days getting everything ready, man.
Dude, during the event, me and the director were working like 20 hours a day, getting like 1-2 hours of sleep a night. But yeah, 15 hours a day. Even now I'm working north of 12, like 12, 13, 14 every day. But that's about to go back to kind of normal, like 10, 12 hours a day, something like that.
Yeah, a lot of guys think that a lot of guys are under the impression that guys, because I do this for a living, I do this full time, and they think, oh, Donovan kicks ass because he gets to do this full time, he gets to make his own schedule, and all that is true. But do not get it twisted. I work every week. I don't work as hard as Anthony in terms of time, but I work north of 50, sometimes 60 hours per week. Mm-hmm. I'm on the air 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day. So doing what we do is not easy. It's great. I wouldn't do anything else, but it's far from easy.
You are never off duty.
No,
that's right. That's right. I remember before even Rollo got more heavily invested in the Rational Mail, like with that blog post he put out. I remember even thinking, I was like, dude, how does Rollo work like with the liquor industry? And then I know he's spending like 40 hours a week minimum with like Reddit, with his blog, with Twitter, like all this stuff. He's on it. So I think everyone works. Everyone that has like a non-9-to-5 job, it's hard for people to understand that are not in this life, but you work a shit ton of hours. Like Rollo said, you're always on, always on, always on. I'm working at midnight a lot of the time doing stuff or beyond.
That's funny. I'll tweet out or I'll put an Instagram picture of me like hiking over, because I live about 20 minutes away from Lake Tahoe, and I'll take my dog out there hiking or something. I'll put some picture up and they'll go, oh man, living the life, man. It must be great. I'm like, fuck you, man. This is like a half an hour I get to myself.
Yep. With that said, let's get into today's topic. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Just thank that guy, Andres305.
Yeah.
Big time. Fuck yeah. With that said, let's get into today's topic: authority versus responsibility. After that, we'll discuss some follow-up topics like 22 convention, big announcement that I put out last week.
I've got a great segue for going from this topic into the 22 convention. We're going to probably have to define that and sort of explain the logic, I guess, behind the 22 convention.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to start with here is one of the popular themes, I think, in the red pill community, particularly in the guys who are more dedicated to self-improvement. We've done a podcast called Success Porn, where we've kind of I think delineated the difference between guys like, say, Tony Robbins or RSD, and like, say, somebody such as myself or Rian or whatever. You know, we're kind of getting into the situation where we're taking on counseling or I don't want to call it life coaching, because that leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But I think that, Rian, you're starting to take on guys that want to talk to you, do some sort of, I don't want to call it therapy, it's not really therapy, but it's like just talking with another guy. And I think it's interesting that in this day and age, in the Lost Boys generation, there's so many men who want to talk to you about that. And when I was at the 21 convention, this was like, hit home for me even more, because I had so many guys hitting me up and wanting me to be their counselor and wanting me to sit down with them for, an hour. I mean, that's the whole reason they even flew out to the 21 convention, was so they could talk to me. And so I see a lot of the red pill starting to lean the way of this self-improvement narrative. And I'm not saying that that's inherently bad. I'm just saying that we need to be careful of how we go about doing that. And what it's always my concern to stay on a red pill message, or stay on a red pill topic, or stay on a stay on red pill truths.
People and tell them what they want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, is like, I see a lot of guys, like Donovan, for instance. Donovan is now doing this 24/7. Okay. I do Rollo, Tomassi, I do the Rational Male. Probably about half of all of my work time is now dedicated to doing what I do. So I have other venues and I have other irons in the fire. And I really kind of worry about guys who decide to do this for a living and then get deplatformed, and then, have what happened to Roosh happen to them. And so I see a lot of guys getting into this self-improvement, feel good about yourself kind of thing, but also own your shit. And I think that that's part of the theme right there, is own your shit and be responsible and be a responsible guy. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing. I think that there sort of we need to inject a little bit of red pill awareness into the idea of becoming a better guy. Because right now, if I go and I look at, say, TradCon, like if I look at PragerU, for example, PragerU is very much about improving men. They want men to be improved, but they want it done according to the way that they think is proper, which is a traditional conservative Christian way.
Fix society so my children have a good go of it in 10 years.
Right, exactly. And I saw this, one of the things that kind of prompted me to want to do this topic is I saw a really great rebuttal to a PragerU video where they're imploring men that it's their responsibility to man up. And this is a constant theme I'm constantly getting especially from TradCon circles, but I'm also seeing it from other guys right now who want to be quote unquote life coaches. And they're all about owning your shit. And it's all about responsibility. And responsibility is great, but it only flies so far in as far as you actually have authority. And so from that PragerU video, I think it was some cutesy little girl that they have on there saying, we need more masculine men. It's not less masculinity we need more masculinity.
Yeah.
Which is a great message, but it comes at the cost of placing all of that responsibility on men with zero authority given to men. And
let me pause you here and ask you a question, Rollo. Is it a great irony that them promoting this, they think it's going to get men to man up and be more masculine, but I think at the end of the day, it just makes weaker men, because they're doing it in a way that's divorced from authority.
Well, it's for control. And Pat Campbell and I have talked about this when it comes to religion. And I'm writing a book about red pill and religion right now. Religion has always been a means of control, of social control. chivalry, the original intent of chivalry had nothing to do with women. It had everything to do with controlling, men who are wealthy landowners in Europe and sort of reeling in their violent tendencies. So we needed this sort of warrior's code. We needed this honor among men, and women, of course, inserted themselves into that male space and then decided that they were going to say, oh, it's about opening doors and it's about courtly love and it's about all this other shit. And that is right there is we say those men have a responsibility to be chivalrous, knights of the round table, but yet nowadays we don't give them authority. We want them to think that they're living up to a masculine standard, but what they're doing is they're withholding the title of manhood, and they're saying you're not a man unless you own your shit and you assume and take responsibility for yourself. And it's just like the Jordan Peterson thing, wash your penis, clean up your room. And if you don't do this, then you're not a real man. And it's like the real man title is some sort of like medal that we want to give to men, but it's only if they do the things that we want them to do. So in the case of a trad con, it is do what the Bible tells you, do what we tell you. We need more masculinity, but don't worry about women. We don't want to say anything about women. We don't want women to have to be held accountable for all of the decisions that they've made. It's because of men. It's women are the way they are right now because men have allowed them to be that way. Well, that only flies as far as those men having authority over those women. And that's what this PragerU video is about. And I'm going to go out and throw this out there. I watched a rebuttal to this by Turd Flinging Monkey, and he was 100% on. I did not disagree with anything the guy says. My only concern is, he diagnoses the problem perfectly. Responsibility without authority is meaningless. And so when we say own your shit, that's great, own your shit. But what can you really do with that responsibility? Who is saying, you're my definition of a real man, but we don't give men authority. We don't say that they should be, I think what was Steve's I want Steve to play that Pledge of Allegiance, because that right there seems to me sort of a declaration of authority for men. But really that's a great thing. We'll play it here in a minute. That's a great thing. But legally, men don't have any authority. They don't have any authority over women.
Rollo, it's worse than meaningless too. It's dangerous. Look in the case of marriage. I mean, it's way beyond meaningless. That'll fuck you in the ass.
Mm-hmm. So you have trad cons trying to exercise control over men by saying, own your shit, be responsible, man up, do all this stuff. But then we don't give that guy any authority. He can't really exercise anything about that. And of course, Turd Flinging Monkey and the MGTOW response to this is take away women's rights. Great. I'm 100% on with that. How are you going to do that? Show me the plan you have to take away women's rights and to establish more authority for men. If you can show me how that can happen without a war being involved, I'm all ears. So that's the thing. We can even just start this here is like, do you think, what are ways that men can actually take back authority? How can we do that? How can we expect men to be responsible and own their shit, but yet they have no authority? So what is the real answer? What's the solution to that?
Persuasion.
Ryan, Karl?
Yeah, you no longer have the stick, so you have the carrot. You can remove the carrot. That's all you got. And I always say, like, aesthetics are the big thing right now. The be attractive, don't be unattractive. You no longer get to say your paycheck makes you a man. You pretty much have to say, I get to be a man because if you don't want it, I'll find somebody else who will. That fear of missing out, the same reason girls will buy makeup, you can get those for a guy too. But I'm curious on Steve's perspective on this, because he's running the single land.
Well, the thing is that a lot of, and I feel a lot of guys, what they have to do first off is they got to stop focusing on problems. They've got to stop blaming, living in the past and making excuses. And like I say, learning from you guys as far as getting personal development, because you only think your mindset only goes as far as you think. And you gentlemen out here are very well and wise with women, and especially being men. And a lot of these men need this kind of nurturing from guys who know what they're doing, because the only way you can begin to swing that pendulum is to start focusing on being solution based. Because to me, a problem is a meteor the size of Jupiter heading towards Earth. But a fucking bitch, excuse my language, but that's not a problem. That's an easy fix. But at the end of the day, you just gotta focus on what you want as a man and not worry about what and then let me get this correct, because I don't know these people, are these just women talking about what they want from men? Were these the women?
Well, what I'm saying right here is that we expect this default responsibility for men. We say, men, you're not a man unless you take ownership of your shit. If you unless you're going, MGTOWs are going to say, unless you're going your own way.
Right.
But like,
well, use the church.
Unless
The church is a great
you
example of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like taking responsibility. But the thing is, and MGTOWs have a point about this, is that you can take all the responsibility in the world, but if the girl you're with calls the cops, you're the one that's going to jail for a domestic dispute. Right. The legal system right now is completely set up against men. It disempowers men and it takes away the authority. That's why I say we live in a feminine primary social order right now. Women will just tear their hair out and say, well, men have all the power. No, they have all of the responsibility, but they don't have the authority right now.
Right.
I think it goes back to what Rollo's best friend was saying earlier this week. You know, that we have a responsibility, because that's implicit when he says that, you know, men have a responsibility not to ruin decent girls and have to either stop dating them or start dating them seriously. That's putting a lot of responsibility on the men, and it's kind of the thing with hyper agency and hypo agency, and that's a very dangerous knife's edge to balance, because a lot of guys are like, I have no idea what to do, I don't know how I should progress, I don't know where I should be, and they don't see that they have any power to change their situation. And then you have the tradcon sphere and the dating coach sphere, who are there saying, you know, you have all the power. If your girl cheated on you, that's your fault for not giving her the dick right. If your girl steals all your money, that's your fault for giving her your password. If your girl stabs you, that's your fault for not wearing a knife-proof vest and locking the knives up. And what it does is it takes all the agency away from women. And to some extent, that's the big problem in our society. We don't expect women to be responsible. Mm-mm. And when we gave them rights, that didn't come with responsibility. So the problem becomes that you have essentially what amounts to teenagers running around with bank accounts, with the power of the legal system in hand, with, you know, an arsenal of flying monkeys on their back trying to help them do whatever they want. And then you take and you validate them to high heavens for 50 years and say women can do everything. You know, just imagine what would happen if you took your average guy from he was like 2 years old, you gave him nothing but praise, you said he could do whatever he wanted. Then when he became 15, you gave him $3 million and an 8-ball. What would happen with that guy?
He'd spend $3 million on 8-balls.
Exactly.
Karl, one of the things I actually said in my speech is that the way women got the vote in, you know, the early 20th century, that was not a victory for equality. It was the death of equality in America. It was a death of equality between rights and responsibilities.
People forgot too, guys, like non-landowning men, which were like 80% of them, just got the vote, like 10 years prior to that. So it's not like everything was peachy, except for like everybody was kind of getting it around that same time. I think. You know
what's interesting too? In the late 1800s, women in certain states got voting rights if it came with the draft, or, you know, with military service and stuff. And it was like, I know in one state it was like when women had that option, like 5% of them were like, okay. The other 95% were like, no thanks. No, and that's why a lot of women didn't even want the vote, because they thought they're going to have to be in the fucking military. And then I guess some Susie Sue came along and was like, hey, ladies, don't worry. We'll get the vote and no military shit. And then they're like, oh, fuck yeah. But
well, yeah, I actually wrote an essay on this a while back. I called A History of Social Justice, which goes into how people tend to not know history well enough. Because if you read history very selectively, like you say, the only thing that matters is what happened in North America between 1800 and 1900. Then, of course, yes, the evil white men have been the oppressor all throughout history. But if you go back further, you'll find that, you know, French people, Germans and Brits, and to some extent Italians, have been kicking the crap out of each other for 1,000 years. And everyone's been either a slave or the dominant force within Europe for the past, 2,000-3,000 years. And if you go back even further and you look at South America, the Aztecs were chasing down each other and sacrificing each other on top of pyramids. Go to Africa, you've had a slave culture going back thousands of years before a white person even set foot on the continent. And it's this selective reading of history that allows these groups to construct narratives of always being oppressed. But that's obviously not the case. If you look at history, 98% of men and 98% of women have had totally shitty lives.
Yep.
And 2% of men and 2% of women have had relatively decent lives, but nothing compared to the average person today. I mean, even kings and royalty died from simple shit if you go back a couple of hundred years before penicillin.
Right. I just wanted to throw this. I know we're going to take calls here in a little bit, but I wanted to throw this out there. Maybe Steve can say something about this. It's like one of the things I constantly get, particularly from the the male self-improvement side of things, is that things would be different if men would just man up and take responsibility, if they would just own their shit. Constantly, that's probably as simple as I can put it. Just own your shit. And that women would not be, or we would not be in the state that we're in right now if men would just take responsibility, and women are only as bad as men allow them to be. Well, the fact is, whenever I listen to that and I realize that men have zero authority to change any of that right now, whether that's legally or it's in, divorce court, or whether that's, domestic violence, or whether that's, Me Too or any of this other stuff. I mean, we're compounding and putting law after law after law that pretty much empowers women. And what are they going to do with that power? They're going to turn it towards hypergamy and their own self benefit. But men are losing more and more and more authority. I mean, we have zero authority. So really, how much of that is really true? How much of what women are doing, or how much of what we call the blue pill, or how much of this fempowerment narrative is really men's fault? How much is it just women taking what we gave them and running with it even further? And so I'm saying is, how much responsibility do we bear as men for the situation that we find ourselves in, and how much responsibility do women? Because right now, from what I'm hearing about this own your shit, it's all men. And if men would just man up and take the power back, we would be in a better spot, and take away women's rights and take away their vote, and everything would go back to the way it was. I don't believe that could. First of all, I don't think that's feasible. And then second of all, how are you going to do that? Tell me how you're going to do that. But how much responsibility do men bear? I have this great post. I just put it in the chat here. It's called Our Sister's Keeper. And I wrote that probably about 3 years ago. And it was basically the same question. When you tell me that women's bad behavior and the shit that we find ourselves in is men's fault, great. How do I fix that? Why is it men's responsibility and not women's responsibility to own their shit and to fix their own shit? Because I'm not hearing that from anyone in the red pill community or anywhere else.
Jordan,
well,
Peter?
if you look at it this way, if you go into, I'm sure if I put out 2 Twitter messages now, I put out one that said, men have to straighten themselves out, and they have to stop ruining these decent girls by having sex with them. Then I would be cheered out across the media landscape, and I would have all these thread thoughts liking the post. If I put out a post that says, girls really have to stop ruining decent men by taking the dick, I would be banned off Tinder faster than Jack can get out of his chair.
Yep.
Well,
that's the lack of authority I'm talking about. Go ahead, Steve.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I totally agree with y'all saying. At the end of the day, when you have the kids and all the other stuff, and it gets in the government's hands, as a man, you're fucked. I mean, you're really screwed. But what I try to instill in men is that we've got to learn how to create our own principles, laws, rules, codes, and narratives for ourselves. So that means when I meet a woman, and I always say like the job, okay, I always tell guys, if a woman a woman's disrespecting or mistreating her boyfriend or her husband, I asked the guy, well, could she do that to her boss, CEO, or the CFO of the company? She's like, no. I say, why do you think it happened? Well, she'll get fired. I say, okay, whoa, stop. You just answered the question there. So when you meet a woman, she's to know that, look, you're going after my last name. You're going after my ring. And what are you bringing to my table other than your ass to bring more wealth to my kingdom and my world? What are you doing for me? And that's the thing that we're trying to push narrative for guys. It's all about you. Not saying all about you as in you need to take the burden of everything. I'm saying when you go into a relationship with a woman, you need to be that set standard of saying, look, this is how it's going to be. If you don't like it, go, because I can meet a million women like you, but you'll never meet a motherfucker like me type attitude. Now, if you can start that early on and train her, because these emotional women who are not logical, emotional, can be trained. But the problem is that they're so caught up into, everybody, the bears and everybody's a winner and, everyone gets a trophy and they listen to the radio and all these other things. But what a lot of these guys do, and I'm sorry for going long-winded, but what a lot of these guys do at the end of the day is they get into these relationships and then they allow the relationship to happen to them. So then when they get married or they have a child later on and things break down, then the government, as soon as she's pregnant, you lose. I mean, really. So that's why we always say, make sure at the end of the day, you are the legacy statement. You're the mission statement. You are everything that the company is, because if she messes up, she is gone. Rule number 1 and rule number 2. See rule number 1.
Wow. I fucking love this guy. This is fantastic.
I don't know if I can follow up with that.
Donovan, you got more of these guys? Where do you get these guys? We need more of these guys, man.
Listen, I'm trying to tell you. And listen, Steve he's a veteran of the game. He's been in this a lot longer than I have. And he's a regular caller into my show. But just to piggyback on what Steve said is, and here's the thing. If your woman is out of pocket, I'm going to take this micro, then I'm going to take this macro. If you're with a woman and she is out of pocket, that is on you. Okay. Your woman and her behavior, her representation of you is a reflection of you. So if you see a man with a slovenly, unfit woman who is poorly behaved, she's rude, etc., then that reflects poorly on the man, whether we like it or know it or not. And I agree with the whole, don't put the responsibility on the man, or don't put all the responsibility on men, but on a micro level in your world, you have to take responsibility for your woman. And a lot of guys make this mistake when they first start dating women, is they angle for the relationship first. They say, hey, we've been fucking for 6 months and I'd like to take this to the next level. Well, the girl, of course, is going to say, okay. But here's where guys go wrong, is they angle for the relationship first and then they try to make the rules. As soon as you ask a woman to be your girlfriend, you have lost all leverage, just like when you put a ring on her finger. The reason why is that when you ask her to be your girlfriend, you are directly and indirectly telling her that she has successfully filled out all of the qualifications. You are now worthy of my commitment, my affection, my resources, etc. Guys go wrong and they say, hey, be my girlfriend. By the way, don't text your ex anymore. You can't be, close your Tinder account. A lot of guys try to set these ground rules, but they don't do it in the beginning, and they do it in the beginning just because they're getting the pussy. This is what men need to understand, and it's exactly what Steve said. She's going after your last name. She's going after your commitment and affection. What we have to offer to women is worth far more than what they have to offer to us. Yes, femininity is great. It has restorative properties. There's nothing like coming home to a beautiful woman who worships you and cooks for you and lets you fuck her every night. There's nothing like that. But the fact of the matter, and these are all good things, is why we pursue relationships with women. But what we have to understand is that we bring so much more into a woman's life than she can potentially bring into ours. That's the way the dynamic has to be. So when a man angles for a relationship first, he is in essence telling her that what she brings to the table is more important than what you bring to the table, and they end up getting out of pocket, disrespectful, et cetera, et cetera. Men allow women to be this way. Now, on a macro level, women can't do anything without men. They couldn't even do feminism without men. The only reason why feminism has advanced so far is because of men. I actually, Devin and I...
Can we get a replay of that? They can't even do feminism without women, without men?
No. Women can't do anything without men. They can't even do feminism without men. And I almost said Donovan and I, Devin and I, we were watching this Netflix special called What Were They Thinking? And it's about these feminists or whatever. We watched it for a half an hour. I almost threw up. We had to turn it off. But I remember one of these girls said, well, when people ask me if I'm a feminist, I say no, because I do have feminist ideals. But then she said, but the only people that I know who actually call themselves feminists are men. You got men out here talking about their feminists. And guys do this for one reason and one reason only, because you want to fuck her. So when we run into white knights like Jose Alonso, Rollo, we had that
Oh man, I was going to go the whole shit without mentioning that motherfucker.
No less than a dozen times. Why are you defending the person in question? I'm not going to say her name again. And he wouldn't answer the question. So the best way to harm these guys is you realize that she's not going to fuck you, right? Like you realize that you caping up for her, it's not going to earn you a blowjob, right?
Dude, I love that because it cuts right to the core because everybody kind of knows it, but they don't talk about it. And when you say that, it's just
This is exactly why they do it. One last thing. In terms of complaining, the anger phase is necessary for the red pill to sink in. You got to get, because it's a necessary phase, but you have to be careful not to stagnate and wallow in the anger phase, because then you end up becoming a low-level MGTOW. Then you hate all women. No, women are neither good nor bad, man. Women are who we have allowed them to be. Yes, they are fully responsible for their actions. We're all born with the ability to know the fundamental difference between right and wrong. There's no way on God's green earth a wife is going to say, well, I cheated on my husband with Kevin and Sales because I didn't know. No. You know, without being told that that's wrong, that fucking your coworkers is wrong outside of your marriage. By the same token, yes, we complain, but if you complain, you got to come up with solutions. This is the difference, I think, between us and not all MGTOWs are created equal. I've said this time and again, but this is the difference between us and low-level MGTOWs. It's complain, and the complaints are valid. Like the breakdown is brilliant. It's all brilliant. But then we say, okay, we got to take women's rights away. How the fuck are we going to do that? I saw one guy in the chat said, we got to boycott women. No, because the men who are boycotting women are men who couldn't really get women in the first place. So
even with the rights thing, it's like, what is that going to accomplish? We'll end up in the exact same spot 20 years from now if you do that. It's like, what is the fucking point? That's a symptom of the problem. That's a problem, in my opinion.
Guys like this don't understand that advising men who couldn't otherwise be successful with women to check out of the dating market is not helping them, right? Like, listen, you can say, well, I'm not going to buy that Nissan because it's too highly priced. Guess what? There are 75 other people who are willing to pay that price. We're not going to boycott women. It's on us. And we're not going to, the only way we can change things on a macro scale are events like the 21 convention, the 22 convention. But in the meantime, make changes with your woman. Make her abide by your rules. Train her. Oh my God, you said train. You're goddamn right. I said train, because women are so fucked up. They literally have to have the good behaviors trained back into them. There's no such thing as finishing school anymore. I got the finishing school right here. The fucking finishing school of Donovan Sharpe.
One of the things I was going to say here is, and we got into this, this was a hot topic on Twitter this week for whatever reason. It was about quality women, the quality woman versus just the woman. And I think this is something I should probably either do my own show about, or we should use as a topic here. But people get confused when I say that there is no such thing as a quality woman. There are only women. It is to dissuade you from believing in these ideals that there is some sort of qualitative difference between one woman and another when you're looking at mental firmware, when you're looking at just like basic understanding of her. Like when you're looking at hypergamy is going to be what it is no matter what that woman is. So whether she's your good girl or she's the club slut that you picked up, they're all using the same firmware. They might be using a different software, but they're using different they have the same firmware. And the reason yeah, well, I was going to say, go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of which, did you notice that from our friendly neighborhood Stedderman there, that all he did to describe a high quality woman is he described what he wanted to be, and then he put tits on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like Steve, do you get that? Do you get that often? It's like the single man's game where they're looking for a woman that's basically them with tits, or
yeah, they're too busy focusing on what the woman wants instead of what the woman needs, and that's a huge difference right there, man.
I think the other thing to understand, the other thing. Oh, go ahead.
Ask a woman what kind of woman she is, and she will tell you what kind of man she wants. Do this, guys, on a first date or first meetup. So, Sally, what kind of woman are you? Well, I'm strong, I'm independent, I'm decisive, I know what I want, I go after it, I'm aggressive, and I'm competitive. This is the kind of man she wants. And so it's sort of like an inverse projection, just like Ryan said, with men. Listen, here's what I want. Me with a set of tits. And I'd be an ugly fucking woman.
And that's because they have been raised in this egalitarian equalist mindset that like attracts like. If I'm like this, then I'll attract a man that is like this. And it is absolutely 100% false, because they don't understand that men and women are different, right? So what I was just going to say is that whenever you're looking at, when we give women power, when we, as men, people like to say, well, women only have as much power as men are going to give them. Okay, well, fine. But we've given women like this unfettered power. And what do they do with that power? What's the first thing they're going to do? They're going to use it to their benefits. And what is the greatest insecurity that women want to feel secure about? They want to feel secure about alpha fucks and beta bucks. And that's exactly why we have the divorce industry, we have marriage industry, Me Too, all of that. All of those laws and legislations are byproducts of saying, okay, women, all the chains are off. Go ahead and do whatever you want to. I like the idea, particularly what Steve was talking about how that woman is after your last name. I wish that was true. I really wish. I'm not challenging you on that, but I see so many women who don't want to take their man's last name, and they don't want to because it's this egalitarian equalist mindset, and they're like, they still want to have that. They want to retain that power, and taking that man's last name is an abdication of that power, and that's why you see women who won't change their last name, who hyphenate their last name. And I this is sort of a running joke, and as far as my red pill circles are, is that, hyphen last name, so duly noted. When I look at that and I see that, it indicates a mindset to me. It indicates this thing that, well, they believe
she wants the big piece of chicken.
Yes, exactly. She still wants to have all of the benefits and all of the rewards that come from marriage, but they don't want to abdicate any authority. They don't want to abdicate, and they want men to bear all responsibility because they don't want to take that responsibility. So when you look at women in the state that we're in right now, you can see that when they are given unlimited, unfettered power, what do they do with it? They use it for their hypergamous best interests, for the broadest swath of women that they can possibly get. That's why we have the social conventions that we have today.
Yeah, but that's I agree with what you're saying. But if you think about the last name, it's really predicated to the man that owns that name.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a strong foundation, and your foundation is like the Three Little Pigs made out of hay and wood, which you can just blow that shit over, then there's no reason. Why would I want his last name? Because his last name doesn't have that impact to show me that, what I mean, it goes back to nature at the end of the day. These women want strong men, but they want a strong last name. And that's why they're using their last name to hyphenate, because they feel like the person that they're with is not strong enough in their view. So I totally get what you're saying, but I'm just saying that for instance, all you guys on the panel, I couldn't even imagine a woman coming to you guys and saying, well, she couldn't even get the word hyphenate out of her mouth in front of you guys. So, I mean, that's right. So like I said, if everyone listening, the men on this panel, that wouldn't fly with you guys. Yeah. But the normal guy who doesn't know himself might have that situation. That's what I was meaning.
It's because they've been raised by the blue pill to believe in egalitarian equalism, and that is part of that egalitarian ideal, is to say,
it's more than that, though. It's narcissism. We had a girl back when we still let girls in married red pill, and she was arguing this exact point. And her excuses were, well, I'm a PhD, and so it's going to be a pain in the ass to change my research papers. And one of our older guys brought it up. He's like, well, I wish you luck on your career then. It sounds like you really enjoy it. Take care.
Yeah,
she's telling you exactly where her importance, what's important.
From my perspective, what you guys are talking about, it boils down to it's a war between biology and propaganda. These women have been fed all these blue pill bullshit lies, and it's propaganda essentially. It's brainwashing for decades now. But then, like Steve's talking about, their biological instincts to go to strength and power. But then they don't find that the men are weak and they're betatized and all this bullshit.
Well, they want to use the social conventions. Like they want to find some lame ass reason why they don't want to take your last name. They want to find some lame ass reason why, like, you know, I've got into this before. Like one of the reasons that, you know, women hate man spreading so much is it's because a man is sexually signaling an alpha status by doing that. And if that guy is beta, she's going to get up. She's going to pour bleach on his crotch, right? She's not pouring bleach anywhere else. She's pouring it on his crotch. It's the same thing. When women don't want to take your last name, that is the medium is the message. She's saying, you are not alpha enough for me to genuinely have a desire to go through the trouble of changing my name. I'll tell you this, I don't care how feminist a woman is or how, you know, empowered she is. If she's with a guy, a dominant alpha guy that she, you know, would ride or die for, or if she's that dedicated to that guy, it won't even be a topic of conversation. She'll be like, okay, I'm going to go and change my name right now, because she's going to want to do that. She has a genuine desire to do that. So all this bullshit about inconveniences and shit like that, it's completely untrue. But what it is, the latent message behind that, the real message behind the medium of that, is that she doesn't want to be owned by you. She has this for whatever reason, empowerment has taught her that she doesn't want to be owned, and that taking a man's last name is an old patriarchal you know, tradition that implied ownership. Well, great. You know what else implies ownership? A fucking wedding ring. And I'll guarantee you don't turn down the wedding ring, but you won't take its last name, but you'll still keep that $10,000 wedding ring. Why is that? What are your motivations? What is the medium? What is the medium?
Don't even get mad about it though. Here, own your cats. Good luck. Wish you well, sir.
I think the interesting thing here is, if you start to look at it, is a woman will do whatever. The whole inconveniences her with the research papers thing. It's a bit like, you know, if a girl really wants to fuck you, she'll fuck you. So she'll tell the beta guy that, you know, oh, I'm sorry, my dad says I'll be in the house. I can't go out. But if you're alpha enough, she'll climb out the window from the 4th floor down the drain pipe. Same thing.
Yeah. By the way, slut tell number 41. She has a hyphenated last name.
Oh yeah, hey, let's.
Listen, I'm not going to advocate for fucking wives, right? But and guys can get all moral high ground on me if they want to. I have fucked plenty of wives, plenty of girlfriends, but if you don't fuck her, somebody else will. That's just.
Yep.
This is a good segue right here, because one of the reasons, and I'll let Anthony get into his thinking behind this, but one of the things that we're thinking with what's coming up as the 22 convention is sort of grounded in teaching women exactly what it is their responsibilities are to men. And for me to even utter those words right now, there's probably a million women just grinding their teeth and shitting their pants and saying, I can't believe he just said that, because they believe in that egalitarian ideal. And they also believe in they believe the hype. They believe that anything that would be critical of the feminine is a threat to them. So Anthony, why don't you tell everybody what the 22 convention is and what the mentality.
Phone lines are now open.
Yeah, phone lines are open.
So I missed some of that at the end there, Rollo. You froze up.
I was just gonna say, just describe like what the thinking is behind the 22 convention.
Yes, here's the basics. I've had the domain and the idea for several years now, since like 2014, 2015. But I knew at the time and for years that I lacked the philosophic vigor to do it. Like I knew that I was lacking something. And I think what I lacked was the red pill understanding. And since I found the red pill, it's been on my mind a lot more, that at some point, someday we could launch a convention exactly like we're doing now. Every year that's gone by since finding Rollo's work and the red pill, it's been even more in my mind. And initially I wanted to launch in 2022, for the 22 convention, to kind of line the name up with the year. But when I came up with Make Women Great Again, I was like, shit, I need to do this even sooner. Now in 2019, it's still too soon. I need to focus on 21Con, blowing that up in Europe, and then in America again, bigger than ever, more badass. But I figured spring 2020, we can pull this off, we can do it right. And Rollo was like one of the first guys I talked to about it in terms of actually getting it off the ground. And me and him had a long call. It was a little bit over an hour, maybe 70 minutes, something like that. And Rollo and I worked through some of the fundamentals and some of the concerns I had in my mind, and he shared his as well. Certain conditions he wanted to see for it, and I was like, fuck yeah, fuck yeah. One of which, by the way, is that the convention for women will be all male speakers, 100%. So it's going to be the mansplaining event of the century in spring 2020 in Florida.
Listen,
there's still a reason for that. We
60
should enter some of them.
women have had 6 decades to course correct. And if anything has been made clear is that women do not know how to tell women how to be quality women. So now it's on us. Listen, here's the thing, Anthony, you're going to get a lot of this. Oh my God, why didn't you have female speakers? Wait a minute. I thought everything was our fault. I thought everything was our responsibility. This is us taking.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah.
That was my primary concern when Anthony came up to me and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing a convention that is designed to help to make women great again, right? And to sort of bring, I don't know, have women own their shit for once, and having a all male speaker, program where telling women here's the messages and here's what you need to understand. Do I expect women to actually follow along with that or actually learn something from that? Probably not, but it needs to be out there. And I think that even if women grind their teeth at it, they need to at least get the message that's behind it.
Rollo brings up a great point in saying that we're going to see who ends up attending. Tickets are going to launch in 2019 at some point, maybe middle of the year, maybe end of the year. And then, of course, we'll see in the end who shows up, demographics, and all that stuff. We're actually letting mothers bring their daughters at half off, too, as long as they're over 18, just like 21Con. Prices will be the same, all that stuff, too. But I wanted to get into the fact that I don't actually know how many women will use the information like the men do at 21Con. But my concern primarily is getting that content filmed and then making sure the ideas, so the event will be a premium experience, but the videos and the ideas will be open and free to the world. And I want to publish those videos to millions of young women who are not fucked up yet. They haven't, trashed their 20s riding the cock carousel in their 30s and all that shit with the cats. So I want to make sure that young women today at least have a fucking option to do something else. Right now, they're just in an ocean of feminism. They have nothing else to learn from. Maybe their local community or church or something, but even that's heavily, heavily influenced by feminism. Even the Mormons have their stuff going on, that crazy Mormon mother and shit like that. You see guys like Tanner pushing back and all them, but even in a hyper, very tight culture like that, even that's being influenced by feminism. So men today have the manosphere. We have the red pill, I think is by far my favorite. They even have the pickup community for learning how to pick up chicks. You have the men's rights activists teaching men about all the fucked up legal issues and the various things like that for men. You even have MGTOW raising awareness on stuff. So the red pill is the best synthesis of that by far, in my opinion. And I think you guys are on the same page. But at least we have the manosphere for men, and there's millions of men learning from that all the time. Between all the channels, the broadcasts, the shows like this, the conventions, the websites, the Reddit communities. But women have fucking nothing. They have sparse little sprinkling, a few books here and there that don't suck. And then that's pretty much it. And then they just get fed endless amounts, truckloads of bullshit fed down their throat from feminism. Whether it's Oprah or something more specific, like these New York Times chicks and all that.
Middle-aged soccer moms trying to tell them how to do it online, and then shitting at red pill forums and channels, not talking about any names in particular.
So it's like they have young women, and any woman today has almost nothing, but young women in particular are at a point, if they're 18, 19, 20, where at least if they had better information, maybe they could do something about it. A lot of them probably still won't, but at least get the ball rolling with content. Tons of video content that they can watch that'll be on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's what I'm excited about. I want to see a better future for America because I fucking live here. This is my home. I was born here. I love it. And I don't want to see it fall apart. And I think this is critical to seeing that happen, exactly like the men. We need to make ourselves fucking awesome for ourselves. But if you do that to a critical mass point, you can actually change the course of American history. And that's what I want to do. And that's what I'm trying to do as hard as I can with 21Con and with you guys. And then we need to do this. This to me is a new front in the war on feminism, as far as I'm concerned. It's a new battle theater we got to focus on now.
From the 51st state, we're rooting for you too there, Anthony.
Fuck yeah, dude. You guys got to join up, dude. We're still waiting on you, man. Ready to go.
We want you. Quebec is really, really proud.
All right, Donovan, what's the phone calls look like?
Yeah, we got some callers on the line. Real quick, though, I remember on the Redman Group Live, I almost inadvertently, unknowingly let the cat out of the bag with my 32 convention analogy.
Dude, when you're saying it, I was like, oh, shut the fuck up, shut up.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah. And one more thing, you will find that women out there who try to help other women are not out to do it. They're literally helping themselves because red pill, there are no red pill women, only red pill groupies, but all these MAGA trad thoughts or whatever, 80% of their audience is men.
Yeah.
Here you go. All right, let us go to the phone lines. 914-205-5356 is the number to call if you want to get in on the show. Let's go to area code 441. State your name, location, and question.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Payne. I'm living in the States right now, New Jersey. my question right now is, you get a bunch of content on vetting women, how to look for quote unquote quality women, but how do you flip that, and how do you vet men to or for friendships, or more importantly for mentorships?
Wow.
Especially for those of us getting into the red pill recently.
Wow, that's a really good question.
I
wrote-
vetting men. I couldn't hear him very well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he wants to know, how do you vet men for, like, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, for having like a red pill understanding, or vetting a guy that you want to, have a friendship with. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, have a friendship with, or mentorship with, everything along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, listen, it's incredibly tough, because it's difficult to vet women for long-term relationship. It's even tougher to vet men, because we look like them, we act like them, et cetera, et cetera. I wrote an article on negromanosphere.com entitled 3 Reasons Why Most Men Are Not Your Friends. And the number one reason was they trust women more than they trust men. If you find that man, and again, just got to pay attention, right? You have to understand where he comes from. But I think the only way really to vet men, if he is not red pill aware, then he cannot be trusted, because at this point, men will sabotage other men just for a piece of pussy. Like they will sacrifice decades of friendship just over a piece of pussy. Best friends fucking the wives of their best friends. So that's my simple answer. The way to vet men: are they receptive to red pill truths? Are they receptive to red pill philosophies? If you give him the book called The Rational Male, does he tell you, yeah, he makes a lot of good points, but he's fucking out? He's out. So listen, the best way to make friends with like-minded men, come to the 21 convention. You'll meet plenty of those guys.
Fuck yeah.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, before you go, I got one on you too there. So the best thing I found with getting a guy as a mentor, a mentee, or just a peer, give them a chance to fuck you over and see if they take it. That's the easiest one to start with. That's why a lot of us that, like a lot of the guys I deployed with, it was almost 10 years ago now, and we still see each other all the time. And it's like we never even separated, and they're half a country away. For mentors, you don't actually pick who you mentor. The mentee is the one who does the picking there. So that's something to keep in mind. That's usually because you see somebody you aspire to be like and you want to learn from them. And he likes it because from an ego perspective, you want to be more like me. How can I not take that as a compliment and want to help you? And if you're putting in effort and valuing his time. Again, for peers, reciprocal value is the biggest key. Like, do you do as much for him as he does for you? Value leeches are another easy way of vetting people from your life. And then from a final thing, and like Donovan was saying about, is he willing to throw away 10 years of friendship over some pussy? Just, is he successful? Because abundance mentality makes for good friends. It's when a guy is scarcity, like he doesn't get a lot of girls, so he will ditch you for them. Scarcity makes men desperate, and it's a great indicator of if a guy is generally a valuable guy, is if he has that abundance. So I'll add that to that as well. Leave it to the next.
If a girl, like if you have a hot date with a hot girl and one of her friends is in trouble or a breakup or whatever, dude, she will ditch you to go be with her friend. Why? One of the main reasons is because she knows she can have 24 of you. It's that abundance mentality. This is why girls are there for each other a lot more than guys. Guys, dude, your guy friends, they'll ditch you for a piece of pussy all day, every day. Girls, they don't have to do that because they've got the ultimate in abundance. So that's a very, very good point there by Ryan.
I just want to make a quicker point real quick for the guy on the phone. Always remember, young man, you are a percentage of the people that you hang out with, okay? That's something that you have to understand. Number two, when you're looking for somebody to befriend or something like that, make sure he is like-minded. Make sure he can push you every day to be a greater man. He can push you to go beyond that edge, and he is very supportive. Those are some of the things that you got to look for. It's about honor and integrity in these people. And if you can find that, who is like-minded, who can push you to be a better man, who is there for you when you need it, that's the guy you need to be with.
Okay, Steve's answer.
I gotta make an announcement here before I forget. We have a Patreon for the Redman Group show. You could support the show by going to patreon.com/Redman Group. I will also throw the link in the chat. It's also in the video description underneath the video. That's one of the best ways to support the show, in addition to things like super chats, sharing it, hitting the like button, smashing that shit Richard Cooper style, right? So definitely support the show. Go to patreon.com/Redman Group. Much appreciated. I think we already have over a dozen guys, something like that.
Oh, wow.
So I appreciate that, guys. Hell yeah.
Good stuff.
We have one for 21 Studios, but no one gives a shit, so it doesn't matter. But yeah.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Again, 914-205-5356 is the number. If you're calling from outside the U.S., it is 001-914-205-5356. Let's go to area code 919. You're on live with the Red Man Group. State your name, question, and location.
Hey, guys. How you doing? I'm just honored to be Oh, got a little echo here. Just wanted to say, love the work of the entire panel, the entire community. Saved my life. 40-year-old male, was raised by a feminist, blue pill my entire life. My mother destroyed my father in a divorce. I was raised to be a blue pill cuck without realizing it my whole life. Got burned last year, kind of me too to my little social circle, and got the red pill awareness from the community. I'm fully on board. I can't thank you guys enough. And the thing that came up to mind for me was, you know, a lot of these women, where they're in open relationships, they're in poly relationships, and they want both sides of it, right? The alpha fucks, the beta bucks, and they want to pressure men to marry them. And I've come to realize I'm never going to marry, knowing the laws the way they are. I'm not going to have a kid, which is probably the most painful thing. But for women who pressure men to get married and you don't, the perfect example to share with them is Oprah Winfrey and Stedman. They are not married. And I think they're not married because Oprah is the higher earner and she would get fucked if they ever got divorced, right? So their relationship is totally predicated on they're in each other's presence when they both choose to be there, and they're not when either of them doesn't want to be. And there's no penalty. There's no entitlement from each other. And I thought, you know what? That is something. That's the kind of relationship I want. I've busted my ass. I came from poverty, and part of our tough situation was because of how my mother treated my father. I came from nothing. I'd made my way, paid my way, worked my way through school, worked in toxic corporate environments, and I'm earning six figures. And I will not give that power legally to a woman to fuck me whenever she wants to leave for some fucking chat or whatever. You want to leave for some chat or whatever? You fucking go. But I'm keeping my economics intact.
Straight up.
You know, so any man out there, Oprah Winfrey, I'd love to hear what the panel thinks.
Well, I'll go first on this one. I think the reason why Oprah Winfrey will never leave Stedman is because nobody wants to be with Oprah Winfrey, right? Like high earning women, like women, and I've said this before, the more power, the more money, the more influence that a woman attains, the further she shrinks her pool of potential suitors. And it's because women always, they want to date up, they want to marry up, they want to fuck up, but they'll fuck down, but they won't like they'll date the CEO, but they'll fuck the hot janitor, they'll fuck the hot warehouse guy. But if you were to make Oprah into a man, right, then that would make perfect sense. Yeah, Oprah's not going to marry Stedman because if he ever divorces her, she's screwed. You know, literally.
Yeah, and you notice nobody says shit about that. Nobody says, "Oh, when is Stedman going to man up and marry her? When is he going to accept his responsibilities? When is he going to finally put a ring on it?" And that's funny. Nobody says anything about that, but that's the first thing they'll tell other guys is that you are not a man. You don't qualify, like I said, for the category or the man medal. You know, they've got the man merit badge, and you don't qualify for it unless you play along with their own, you know, that sexual strategy. Unless you fulfill that sexual strategy for women, you are not a man. You are not a man unless you build your life up around women. You're not a man unless you've earned a six-figure income and you're doing it because you want to be a father and a good husband. You're all this stuff that goes along with that, which is responsibilities. But yet again, they don't include headship. They don't include authority in that equation. It's all responsibility and zero authority. So what happens? You get a guy exactly like this. He says, fuck that.
Ladies and gentlemen, George, the Sultan, Bruno.
Yeah. See, I told you it was open.
Entered
George, welcome to the show.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'll say something. You're on mute right now, George.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Howdy.
Life is good right now. I'm trying to get into Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Con as a speaker and also doing the hair and makeup of all the speakers. It's the largest business conference. So that's what I'm working on this week. I'm trying to sell myself to the master salesman, and that's going to be in Miami in February. I've been doing a lot of studying of how various manosphere people, big, like authors, I shouldn't say manosphere people, people like Jordan Peterson, I think I sent that article to you, of how he became the phenomenon that he did. And I'm not talking about content, I'm talking about the actual gears turning, the procedures, the skills, the technological things, the PR things, the buzz things that he used to become, because a lot of the, what do you call it, the critique is like, no one ever heard of this guy until he got an agent. And I remember I criticized him once and lost 1,000 viewers in literally 2 hours because his fanboys just hammered the crap out of me. And I said, people are as good as their publicists. Very few things are organically grown. And I have 5 agents from my acting career and 30 years on television. And none of them can understand the phenomenon of how he is out there. And I know he's with CAA. So I've been working on that stuff and talking to my agent in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, of how maybe she can work something up. Peterson, I think, started the dialogue, or at least continued a dialogue. He opened the door. A lot of men walked through it. I don't believe he finished the conversation, though. But I do believe it's helpful. Just like I believe everybody on the panel and all the speakers, the inner circle, we start dialogues with our audiences. And some of our audiences do intersect, but I know I've got 100,000 people that know nothing about 21 until I mentioned it. So, and it's interesting, we all have our followings. So I'm looking forward to following through on that. But that's it.
Oh yeah, thanks for hopping on, man. Let's get back into some calls here. Also, thanks to all the guys dropping super chats. £5, or actually £5, $10. All these guys. God Word Saves, Robert Hale. Much appreciated, gentlemen.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Area code 214. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Hey, good to be with you guys. So I'm trying to figure out if I have some type of blue pill block in my head right now. So in the past, I've been able to get a friends with benefits that you set up with different women, but I always seem to do something to self-sabotage. I either blow them off, I just stop answering their calls. And I don't know if I have some kind of guilt, because in my experience, you can get a girl and tell them, hey, we probably won't have a relationship. Are you okay with that? And they sometimes, a lot of times if they like you, they will agree to that in theory. But I think for most women, unless they're just like a 22-year-old party girl who wants to smoke weed and get drunk, or they're just really damaged, they're still going to see it as a challenge. And for me, it's kind of hard to continue on bringing someone along when I know eventually, or I know what they actually want. And most of them, if they're relatively normal and well-adjusted, they're really not okay with that scenario. And so recently, I basically blew this chick off. She was ready to come over, have a few drinks, and she basically said, I want sex. And I'm just looking at my apartment. I'm like, yeah, I don't even want to sweep up the dust. I'll just, whatever. So I'm curious to see your perspective, what they may be going on in my head right now to call.
Yeah, you should have made her come over and sweep up that dust for you. Especially, well, no, I mean, of course I say that tongue in cheek, but I think Ryan calls it stepping on your own dick. And you make a very good point. No matter what women say, her end game is always a relationship. Even if she starts something with you with the intent of being just a fuck buddy, sex is more emotional for women than it is with men. And the more a woman has sex with you, the more you have sex with a woman, the more emotionally attached that you're going to be. Well, this girl just came out and told you, hey, I want to be in a relationship. And girls try to say, well, I'm not looking for any relationship. No, they actually do. The reason they're telling you that is because they think it makes them more attractive. When a guy says, I'm just looking for sex, I don't want a relationship, that turns girls on. So girls... girls inadvertently think that the inverse is going to be the same. Again, girls think that what makes us attracted to them is going to be in reverse. I think what you're probably, and how old are you, by the way?
I'm 41, never been married, been engaged a couple of times, lived with a woman, but yeah, I'm a single professional guy, and yeah, I'm looking to bounce from where I'm living, and so, you know, I have needs, obviously, but given that I don't want to live in the city anymore where I'm at in Texas, that's also another roadblock I put up. It's just like, well, what's the point? I'm going to be going through the same thing again, and I just hate dealing with the guilt trips. I hate it when they text you back and say, "Oh, this hurts my feelings," and blah blah blah. I just have a very low threshold for drama.
I don't think it's drama in that sense. It's just a case of.
I'm going to pass this off real quick. So anytime to get rid of the guilt, okay, to help to get rid of the guilt, you need to understand that for every time a woman gets her feelings hurt by a man, she has hurt 25 men. Okay, I feel guilty for hurting that woman. She has hurt 25 men for every one woman that you have hurt. So you have to understand that girls do just as much. They get involved with the fuckery too.
Okay.
I just think it's very easy for guys to take too much responsibility, to put it in this podcast. I mean, look at this as you're negotiating a deal with either an employer or another company or something. You know what you want to get out of that deal. That's what you need to be focused on. Stop giving a shit what they want out of the deal and rely on them to walk away from the table if you made it clear that you're not offering them that deal. It's up to them to leave the table. It's not up to you to start, "Oh shit, I feel bad, I'm guilty. I'm going to go ahead and wife this girl up because I don't want to have bad feelings anymore."
Karl, you sound like you're just saying fuck her feelings, and that's the true thing about it. She's on her period. You know, I want someone to like me. I want you to, man. Let me tell you something, man. The bottom line is this: whatever it is you want, at the end of the day, it's all about you. So, if she's got her feelings, then she needs to check that shit at the door, man, or she's got to move on, man.
Okay. So basically, just you know, put the foot down and concentrate on myself.
Well, just make sure that you fuck her from behind. That way, she can walk away anytime she wants.
There you go.
I think what they're saying is that the key to a healthy relationship is polarity. Okay, you need to stay who you are. She needs to stay who she is, and keep her at arm's distance. And then decide, how invested you really want to get once you have been at arm's distance for a while.
Okay. Anybody else got anything to add?
If it still bothers you, that means there's something about it that you're not okay with yet. So find a way to be at peace. Like, you have your decision, own it. And if it comes with getting a little bit of grief once in a while, then once it gets to the point where it's like a matter of a fact situation as opposed to like an emotional thing you don't feel like dealing with, that's when you know you've truly made it. I'll leave it there.
Does it sound like a little bit of blue pill contamination to you guys?
Yeah, I think blue pill contamination is probably a reasonable partial explanation. And listen, man, all of us guys are all red pill and quote unquote alphas. We all have our blue pill ways about us, man. Like, no man can be 100% alpha 100% of the time. No man can be 100% red pill 100% of the time. Every once in a while, blue pill habits will creep in. A lot of red pill guys have some blue pill habits. That's all there is to it. Just don't allow people to be what I call a referendum gangster, right? So in other words, for example, they find out, like, a lot of people think OJ was a beta because he killed Nicole and she was his one-itis. No, OJ killed Nicole, allegedly. OJ, you know what? Fuck it. OJ did it. Like, let's not beat around the bush. But OJ killed Nicole because someone infringed on what he thought was his property. OJ was an alpha male in every sense of the word. He had more pussy than he knew what to do with. He was up to his eyeballs and money and pussy and celebrity and all that. But just because he killed his ex-wife, now all of a sudden he's a beta. That's like saying that Vladimir Putin is a beta because somebody finds out that he likes show tunes. Yeah. How's that working out for you?
Jack Donovan had a great one in his book, and he said that no one considers Darth Vader a pussy.
Right.
Evil, villain, bad guy. It doesn't matter. He's still fucking like masculine and alpha as fuck. So
Wow, listen, we have I've actually got a comment in here. R. Ann Rousseau says, these black dudes are really disrespectful to women. That's why they keep getting dumped and they have a better attitude. Don't listen to them or you're going to get stuck with an ugly woman. I disagree.
Do I count this or is it just you and Steve?
Yeah.
Listen,
enough. Damn it.
I respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I just want to say that please don't look at the color of my skin. Just look at the attitude and behavior that I have, man, because it's not that I'm trying to say fuck all women. I'm just saying that my standards and my principles are so high. How can I build a pedestal for a woman when I'm sitting on the throne? So if what I'm saying is disrespectful to you, you don't like it, I'm sorry. It's just my language of being a man. I don't know how to be anything else. I used to be a gigolo. So
listen, what I have found, and Steve, you could probably attest to this, is that we get all kinds of trolls, right? But what I have figured out here in the last year or so is that male trolls want to be me and female trolls want to be with me. So I take it all with a grain of salt. It's okay, Ann. I know you want the D. Your secret's safe with me. Let's go back to the phone lines, 914-205-5356. Unknown phone caller. You are on the line. Yes, this is you.
Yes, this is me. Hi. Yeah. Well, my name's Mario. I'm from Montreal, Canada.
Okay.
And the question, I mean, I don't know if it's the proper question, but basically, I'm 43 years old. I'm coming out of a 10-year marriage, and
tabernacle
marriage. Yeah, I know, tabernacle. And it's been a bit of a hard transition, but I started dating recently, and I guess it's a dating question, really. Like I went on the second date. I slept with this girl yesterday, and she said, she didn't want to be, she didn't want to be like involved, like she didn't want to take it seriously, So
Good.
I'm just wondering if I should keep pursuing this thing, or that's just kind of like
She's fucking 3 other guys right now. You're just in the rotation.
That's it, dude. Yeah, listen.
What's that?
No.
La fille de Belle Provence. She's got 3 in the rotation already. You're just another notch.
What Ryan said. Yeah, dude, she's fucking other dudes, man. Like that's how. See, no girl wants to be fucking 5 guys. They only want to be fucking one. They don't want to put They don't want to put the miles on their pussy, but they feel like they have to because feminism tells them to. But the guy that she wants the most, that's the guy who gets the blowjobs. That's the guy who gets the anal sex. So when you start fucking a girl in the beginning and she says, I'm not looking for anything serious, that's code for I'm fucking somebody else. So if she doesn't want to take it seriously, then don't take her seriously. Just use her in your rotation and leave it at that.
Okay, great, cool.
Hey, Facile, why?
Yeah, that's clear enough. No. I mean, she was open about it. She said she was seeing someone else anyway. So apparently it's just me and some other dude. And yeah, so I mean, I'm just wondering, should I keep pursuing it? Should I text her? Should I this? Or I just,
text her only on game days.
I'm wondering, should I text her today or last night?
If she's admitting to one other dude, there's at least 5 or 6 in on that train. It's not just going to be just one.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, the only time you should text her is when you want her to come over. Hey, my place, 9:00. See you here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for the call, Montreal. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything on that? I've got a couple more callers here.
I just want to throw this out there. Like for this caller and the last caller is what's the saying? A woman can't look up to you if you are her equal. Okay. So you need to, and I think a lot of guys are really uncomfortable giving themselves permission to be the dominant person within that relationship. And I think that whenever we talk about guys backsliding into some sort of blue pill, frame, or they'll hit me up, Rollo, I lost the frame. How do I get the frame back? Well, you probably never had it in the first place. But second of all, stop thinking of her as your equal. And it's not that you're an asshole, abusive son of a bitch. It's that a woman cannot look up to you if you are her equal. If you're standing on the same level as her, she's not going to look up to you because she wants to look up to you. And she wants you to be the dominant person in that relationship. She expects competency from you. That's the number one thing that women, you can boil it down to this. What are women looking for in a man? They're looking for competency. And I mean competency in everything. So if the tire goes flat, you've got to change that fucking tire. If there's a problem with the plumbing, you got to be a plumber. If you need to mow the lawn, you better be a goddamn landscape artist. Okay, those are the core competencies that men have to have, and they have to be damn good at them all the time because she wants to look up to you. God forbid you have to call some other man in to take care of your shit. Okay. Yeah, though I'm not a plumber. I can't do this. Okay, well, we're gonna have to call a plumber. I guess you fail in that competency department. Okay, I mean that sounds kind of silly, right? Oh, what woman's gonna think that? But I'm using that as a easy illustration for guys to see that women want that competency out of you, and they want to look up to you. Guys always say, "Well, my woman respects me." Respect is not enough. Admiration is where you need to be. You need to have somebody who is going to look up to you. You need to be on top of that dominance hierarchy. And the first step in doing that is giving your fucking self permission to be the dominant partner in that relationship. Guys won't do that. They just that's where all you want to know where all this blue pill. Oh, I think I got some blue pill inserted into my relationship here. Yeah, it's because you aren't giving yourself permission to be a man.
Wow, Rollo, you on fire, man. I didn't call the fire department on you for a second there, man.
Fuck, man. I mean, we get this. I've been doing this for a very long time, as you probably. I've been writing in what is now the manosphere for about 16 years. One of the reasons I had to start my channel, my own channel, is because I keep getting these questions from people who, and I can't, and this is not fair for my readers and my listeners or whatever. I can't expect you to know everything. I can't expect you to have, read all 3 of my books and all of my blog posts and everything else. So I have to go back and cover that again. But it's like, how many ways can I say, oh, Rollo, I lost the frame. How do I get it back? Okay, here we go.
First place. If you want your woman to look up to you, there's one quick way to get your woman to look up to you immediately is push her to her knees and pull out your junk. She'll look up to you.
Well, another way you can have her look up to you guys, remember, stop focusing on what she wants. She just wants a nice guy who is fun and relaxing, all the other bullshit. Go towards what she needs. She needs a man that sees the big picture, that has direction, that's assertive, that goes beyond the what I call the edge, driving results, getting things done, acting decisively, taking risks. But those are the type of things that she needs. That's the secret of the sauce that they don't want to give out to everybody, because if they did, the world would flip upside down and we would rule.
Yeah, I've said actually on Twitter a little while ago that women are always kind of engaged in like a low-key information war. They're always trying to hide this kind of stuff from betas. I think that's why we get a lot of hate, obviously, too, from the like feminists and shit. It's not just criticizing the feminine and feminism and all this shit. It's that we're teaching men to no longer be betas and shit, to man the fuck up for themselves, put themselves first. Rollo with his MPOO. It's a giant fuck you to all that bullshit.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. Area code 214. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, speak up. We can't hear you.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, guys. What's up?
Hey, what's up?
Okay. Whoa, okay. So I got 2 questions, kind of. One's kind of for me personally, and then the other one's kind of like a general red pill pop culture kind of thing.
Go ahead.
First question is, all right, I'm pretty good with game. It's natural. I've actually been doing this shit for my whole life without knowing what the fuck I'm doing. So red pill is new to me. And I had a crazy situation where I broke up with a chick. In the breakup, I go to jail, blase, lose a lot of money to keep myself from staying in jail. And now it's like, fuck, now I got to rebuild, recover. So it's basically like having a fucking divorce.
Yeah.
And it sucks though, because at this point now, it's like, I've always been pretty handsome, pretty smooth with chicks. And everywhere I go, I get attention from chicks, but I don't have the time to deal with them right now because I got to build my shit back up. In this whole year has been about recovery. So it's like, when do you decide to step back out there? Do you just have to wait till you're back on your shit completely, or do you hold off until, or at least get like halfway or something? That's all. I'm just trying to figure out. Like,
I did. I honestly, when I was like that, when I was buying my first place, I know it's not equated, but my first place, like I was renting and I had a bunch of roommates and it just wasn't working. I didn't have the car at the time, so I was saving, and as long as there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I'm willing to put up with anything. So, 6 months of porn was a small price to pay to get financially set up. And I started plowing after that. So
there you go. There's a little respite there for you.
Ryan the Plower.
Yeah. Then again, there's always that occasional one that just falls into your lap. So like, don't shut yourself off completely. There's always those easy ones that just wants to piss off her boyfriend. And if you're there, right place, right time, just take advantage.
Yeah, it's a lot like lifting weights, right? Like you don't get under the bar and squat 300 pounds on the first day. No, you have to start light so that you can get the form down. There are a lot of guys out there who can squat 300 pounds and, bench 275, but their form is fucked up. That's why they're always hurt. The form is the key. So if you need to take some time to get your form down in terms of red pill game and women, do that, because when you're more attractive, you are going to have more opportunities. But if you don't have that form down, you're going to fail even more spectacularly on higher levels.
I think that you should. I was. Let me tell you something. Back in the day, I was making $4.35 at a knockoff place called Kids Kingdom. It was like a knockoff Chuck E. Cheese thing, making $4.35. But the thing was, I was still out there smashing women, and I just want you to know this: building yourself up and getting your finances together are what you do. It's not who you are. So you always need to be out there sharpening your sword. Keep going out. Look, you have time. Work on what you have to work on as far as your finances, but don't be complacent, because if you're complacent and you're not moving up that mountain, that's going to be the problem later on down the line, big guy.
Good. Very good.
Righteous.
Okay. Let us move to the next caller here. We got 3 more callers. We're nearing the end of the show, guys. Nearing the end of the show. Unspecified number, hidden number. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Is this me?
It's you?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. So when I heard that one comment you read about the obnoxious black guy saying things that would lead you to get with the fat girl, well, I'm also a black guy and obnoxious, so I figured I should call in. But the thing that I find really fascinating is like you guys are speaking from experience, and like my message to people like that is like, here's the thing, right? Like I like to use this analogy of like, astronaut, right? Like the astronaut who goes to space multiple times, right? He's been to the moon, he's been to the space station. He knows what he sees when he goes up there, right? So when he comes back to Earth and someone says like, the Earth is flat, well, the astronaut knows what he saw when he went there. So like this person who's talking from no experience, like they don't know what they're talking about. Like when I was in my early 20s, I used to party like 4 or 5 nights a week. Like I was like a hardcore party guy, like long before I knew about any of these terms like hypergamy or any of that stuff, but alpha widow, any of that stuff. And I used to see like these patterns playing out like multiple times a night, right? And what I found really funny was like when I'd go out, like I was the type of guy, like I was really good at dancing. I used to, competitive break dancer, and I used to be the guy who would always care about like the way you looked. I'd always have my hair done. But like I lived in a metropolitan area and I would never pick up girls. And one of the things I always found was like every night I'd go out is I would see like, if there were like 100 girls and 100 guys, and 3 of these guys of the guys that were there fit a certain characteristic, all of the girls would go after those 3 guys. It was either the rich guy, the famous guy, or the violent guy, like every night, right? But one of the things I found really funny was like I had a lot of friends that went to university and lived in university towns. And when I'd go there, like because I had a job and a car and stuff, like the minute I put myself in that environment, number one, there were less guys to choose from, but the girls could quickly realize that, this was a guy who kind of had his shit together. I would sort of become that guy, and all of a sudden, like women would be throwing themselves at me, you know what I mean? And like these are things that I saw like in real life, right? And I mean, I never understood any of these concepts like hypergamy and whatever. But like when I started following you guys, I was like, oh, okay, so that's what I was seeing all those years where I was like, why am I picking up in this one area, but I couldn't pick up here? And why was it that these certain types of guys would get all the girls and I would go out and be the center of attention dancing? I still wouldn't really pick up, right? Because, the girls could tell that I wasn't that type of dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, my analogy is like, you guys are speaking from experience. So anyone who comes on and says, well, these guys, you don't know what they're talking about. Like, you can listen to all the propaganda you want. You can listen to all the mainstream media bullshit you want, all that crap. But there's no teacher like life experience. Life experience trumps all that shit. And when I listen to you guys, I'm like, yeah, you guys are talking about like real experience because you've seen patterns. Like I would tell people, like life is about patterns. You see the same things over and over and over and over again. The smart people are the ones who pick up on the patterns and, you know, kind of accumulate the data and like, you know, figure out what's really going on. And then there's other people who just, it keeps happening and they just, you know, water on a duck's back or whatever.
Actually,
right?
hang on. Let me stop you right there.
You know,
It's
they
not-
never.
Hang on, let me stop you right there. It's not the smart people that pick up on the patterns. Everybody picks up on the patterns. Everybody knows that that sexual relationships are fucked up. But here's the difference. I would say, I don't know, I have ventured to say that maybe 50% of the American population in terms of men are concerned have red pill awareness. Like, I mean, listen, man, we have the internet too. We see the shit that's fucked up. I mean, you know, we're the Red Man Group and the 21 Convention. We're not as big as we're going to be, but there are guys out there who are well aware of this stuff. But you got 5% of men who have red pill awareness, and I call them 5%ers. Those are the guys who are unafraid to live the red pill life. It doesn't take a smart person to live the red pill life. It takes one who's fearless. It takes one who's not afraid.
I just want to say also, if you just close your eyes and listen to these men on this panel, you wouldn't know what color they are because we're all speaking the same thing. It's the individual that is more of a victim that is afraid to be more like the men on the panel that wants to use I guess he's talking about black guys, our color as a reason why not to listen. Where don't knock the messenger. We're trying to focus more on the message. That's all I want to say on that.
Don't hate. Listen, the saying has always gone. Don't hate the player, man. Hate the game.
Okay.
Oh, to be fair, Steve, I agree with you, but I'm pretty sure anyone, regardless, can tell I'm a white dude.
Black label logic is white.
With that said, we got a super chat question we need to hit. It's for Rollo from Ryan Sullivan. Rollo, how do women gain insight and introspection?
How do they gain that? Okay. I think people are asking,
buying a ticket to
people are, I get this question because I had somebody was hitting me up, I think in Twitter not too long ago, when I was saying that it is entirely possible for women to have insight, and it is entirely possible for them to get that introspection that they need. Usually this is a learned process though. So if you're talking about like what I would suggest to whoever, I forget the name of the guy who super chatted this, but go look at my series of posts on instinct, emotion, and reason or rationality. And what I go into in those posts is the difference between what instinctual, or I should say, what interpretive processes men and women are predisposed to. So we all have an instinct. We all have instinctual survival instincts. We all have instinct. Body language is a good example of that. We see people, we've learned from the time we were 3 years old to read faces and to understand what expressions mean, things like that. That's instinctual shit. Beyond that, when you're interpreting things that come into your world or your stimuli that comes in from the outside, women tend to opt for how it makes them feel about something. So it comes in, or whatever it is, comes into their world, and they process it through the instinctual process, but then it goes directly to the emotional processes. How does that information or that stimulus, how does that make them feel? Whereas men, it's the other way around. It's like they think, okay, what can I do with this information? How can I solve this problem? What can I do to build something with this information that I'm getting? So they're passing that through a rational side. It's one of the reasons I named the blog The Rational Male. And then maybe they think about how it made them feel. Women, on the other hand, are the opposite. They think about how that information makes them feel, and then they parse that out in a rational sense and use that. So it's not saying that women don't have a rational side. They can do that. It's just that that's not their first priority. That's not what they're predisposed to. They're predisposed to an emotionalism. But it's not to say that they can't learn to prioritize that rationality. It's not that you can't teach a woman to have introspect. We always talk about how women are naturally solipsistic. Yes, they are. And that is a predisposition for women, is to think of themselves before anything else. That's one of the reasons you don't have to teach a woman or a little girl that she should be her own mental point of origin. She already does that. And everybody in her outside world has already reinforced that from the time she was 5 years old to when she's 25 or 30 years old as a young woman. So you don't have to teach a woman that, but we have to teach men not to do that. At 5 years old, we teach boys as if they're defective girls. Well, part of that education is they teach boys to take themselves off the pedestal and to put womankind on the pedestal. And so we're teaching that boy to take his natural predisposition and alter it. Well, I'm saying that you could do the same thing with a woman. If you taught that woman that she should always think about other people first, if she should always be more introspective, if she should think about how things are affecting her in a rational sense, yes, you can develop it in a woman, but it's not their natural predisposition. So that's what I meant by you can teach a woman to be more insightful. And honestly, we've just been talking about that for a good portion of this show. Is, you know, Donovan says, hey, you got to train your woman. Well, that's true, but you also have to teach women you have to teach women to think of things other than themselves. If you want to sublimate women's solipsism, you have to teach them to do that. They can learn. So when a guy, here's the best example I can give you, is when a little boy comes out of the womb, he already is born with this mental firmware that pretty much gives him an idea of how to throw an object. He knows how to throw a ball or a rock or a weapon or something. And that was an evolved adaptation so that that kid could go and hunt prey from the time he's, 5 years old, 6 years old. He's already putting his shoulder into it and he throws like a boy. That's what we say. He throws like a boy, whereas a girl throws like a girl, because she doesn't have that natural predisposition. Now, can you teach that girl to throw like a boy? Yes, you can. You can put that. You can make a girl a good pitcher for the little league team if you work with her and you teach her to do that. But that is not her natural predisposition that it is for the boy. And that's what I'm getting at. A woman's natural predisposition is solipsism, but it's not that she can't be taught to learn to be more introspective and to be more insightful.
Yeah, real quick on that's a good example. You guys remember Monet Davis from right here in Philly took the world by storm. Monet Davis, the pitcher, the other. Just as a side note, my boys from Vegas showed Monet Davis why she'll never be a Major League Baseball pitcher. Let's go back to the phone lines. Area code 301. You're on live.
Nope. Actually, we got a. Go ahead. Never mind.
What's up? Do we get another super chat?
We got a super chat question.
Oh, never mind. 301. You're gonna have to wait.
I'll look at it. Go ahead.
It was $2, so we can just tell him to fuck. It was $1.99, cheap bastard.
You guys are harsh, man. Harsh.
Well, so his name was Jaron Williams. The question was thoughts on Will Smith's talk on alpha trad relationship.
Zero thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know what he was talking about.
Once again, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It is identical to what PragerU was getting into. It's all responsibility and 0% authority. Everything I've ever heard from Will Smith has always been about man up. And did Jada Smith have a kid before they got together? Was she a single mommy when they got together? Because I know he left his first wife to get with her.
Right.
Jada Pinkett.
The story goes
Jada Pinkett Smith. I'm sorry. Hyphenated last name. Right. Duly noted.
Now, listen, here's actually what happened. Will Smith wanted Jada Pinkett at first. He saw her on the set of A Different World. Alfonso Ribeiro, who was his co-star in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, had access to that studio. So he brings Will over to meet Jada, but he ended up marrying someone else on the set. Like he ended up marrying someone else. So he always had a thing for Jada, but
wasn't she fucking Tupac at one point?
He probably was.
No, she, not him. Well, maybe him.
No, yeah, she.
I think this is, and maybe this, the black gentleman on the show can maybe respond to this. Is there something? I don't know if this is like in black culture, but like if you look at the situation with who's a quarterback for Washington Seattle Seahawks?
Wilson.
Yeah, there's Wilson. Okay. His situation with his wife, remember, or wasn't his new wife like she's a singer or something like that, and she's and she was a single mommy too, right?
Yes.
Not only was she a single mommy, Sierra, beautiful woman, but she's past the wall.
Yes.
This woman has ridden the alpha cock carousel. Remember, she is a beautiful woman who has access to high status men. She has fucked Amari Stoudemire from the Knicks. She has fucked 50. He has fucked and had a kid by the name of Future. The list goes on and on. Russell Wilson is literally the man. Russell Wilson and Tim Tebow, those are the men that we want our little girls to marry. But unfortunately, Russell Wilson is too good a dude for Sierra. I wrote an article about a year ago entitled why Sierra will eventually cheat on Russell Wilson. And the reason for that is because Sierra has been on the alpha cock carousel. Russell Wilson is not an alpha male. He's a professional athlete.
Yeah.
He makes a lot of money, but he is you guys know I don't even have to say his name.
I watched that whole thing kind of unfold. I got a friend of mine who's he goes by the name of Sports Droppings or something like that. He's on Twitter. I've known the guy for forever. He's actually a good dude. But we were talking about this, and I think it's Sierra. She is an object lesson in what the epiphany phase really is. Okay. She is, if you want to know what the epiphany phase is about, her face is in the Wikipedia entry for that.
At 30 years old, she jumped off the carousel and had a baby by Russell Wilson, and also has a baby by Future.
But see what those guys get into those situations. I mean, like we were just saying, we got Russell Wilson, we got Tim Tebow, these guys that you want your daughters to marry and all that. But I mean, these guys are, and maybe Will Smith is involved in this. And what was the other guy? Terry Crews, and his whole situation, right? I mean, completely, once again, coming up with that same narrative about keeping men in their own lane, and you need to man up, and you don't get the man card unless you do what I tell you, unless you build your life around a woman's sexual strategy. It's the same thing for, I would guarantee you that probably Russell Wilson and Will Smith, Terry Crews, all of these guys have a similar story, which is man up and marry those sluts.
They all have daughters.
In case of Terry Crews, I think the problem was, didn't he get caught cheating on his wife after they were married, and he has no prenup? So if he doesn't do exactly what she says, he gets divorce raped.
Yeah, and so now he wants to speak for all men and tell you guys to get your shit together and to own your shit and to be responsible and to never assume that you have any authority in anything, and let your wife allow you to do the things that you love. It's the same fucking narrative that we were talking about in the beginning of the show.
Real quick before I pass it off to Steve, to add fuel to the fire, Rollo, you're not going to believe this shit. Russell Wilson didn't fuck Sierra until they were married. It gets better. He told the world that they were waiting for marriage, for marriage, because that was God's plan. Oh my God.
That is the religious element that I always talk about that comes into the epiphany phase. I'm going to do everything right. I'm done with the bad boys. I've learned my lesson. I want to get right with God. Now I've got this nice, rich beta male who wants to get on board with the same thing I do, and essentially excuse all past indiscretions, excuse the cock carousel, excuse the party years, just basically forgive. That's one of the reasons Christianity is so appealing to women, is because it's a forgiveness of all the shit that they did in their party years, and now they're off the hook.
Hang on,
blocking everybody.
I got one more thing to add. I can't get enough of this Russell Wilson thing. By the way, the Philadelphia Eagles just traded for Golden Tate. Who is Golden Tate, you ask? Well, Golden Tate used to play for the Seattle Seahawks, the same team that Russell Wilson played on. You want to know why Russell Wilson divorced his first wife? Because Golden Tate fucked Russell Wilson's wife, right? So again, this guy is a king beta, and Sierra knows this. She's all right.
Hey, Donovan, we gotta
king beta.
We gotta get Ryan out of here. Ryan, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Been a pleasure. Have fun. Enjoy the last couple minutes.
Yep.
All right, brother. All right, we got 3 more phone calls. Do you want to get to all 3 of them?
We're running pretty long. Say one more.
Let's do one more quick.
Area code 301. You're on live with the Red Man Group. Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Thor. I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
What you guys were talking about at the beginning, when you said men need to take responsibility, but what authority do we have? I mean, that really hit home with me, because I make about between a regular job with good benefits, $70,000, and a side hustle, I'm making over $100,000 a year. But I'm paying I have 2 daughters, and I'm divorced, and I'm paying like $2,500 a month for private school and child support. You know, I'm so there's no my financial situation. I'm always $1,000 away from bankruptcy.
Oh my God!
You know,
dude.
so it makes it, and then I can have my child support lowered to accommodate for the fact I'm paying for private school. But it's been taking like 10 months of going back and forth in court just to get an answer. You know, so that's working out well for my ex-wife, because she's still getting the same amount of money, which is an overpayment.
Yep.
So when it comes to dating, I don't have a whole lot to offer other than I'm, a cool guy, or, So for the last 2 years, I've been seeing this super hot Ukrainian woman who is kind of brought over here from the Middle East by this rich lawyer. And then after like 10 months of dating her, I realized there's something way off with it. Not just drama queen. She has histrionic personality disorder, which is borderline for hot chicks. I mean, I'm 48, she's 46, but she's like a 9.2. And I have sex with her every time I see her. She lives like a mile away from my work, and I have sex with her every day at lunchtime. You know, so it's hard to let it go when you got that on the table. And she'll like do crazy shit. You know, if I'm with my kids one weekend, who knows what she's doing? You know, she might hint that she cheated or something like that, because that's what they do. And so then I tell my friends about it, and they're like, hey, that's kind of dangerous, man. And also, I like studied up on histrionic personality disorder, like Anthony did with psychopaths. And so I know how to manipulate her. And I'm to the point where I don't spend any money on her or anything, but I just tell her what she needs to hear, get pissed at her when she wants me to get pissed at her, just kind of manipulate her. But I don't let her manipulate me. And
Playing with fire, man.
Well, why don't you just get a normal girl, you know? And I'm like, okay, but if I were a normal girl, why the hell would they want to date me when half my money goes to child support, you know? It's like I don't have, you know, one of my kids has to turn 18 before I'm like a whole person again, you know?
I mean, women want alpha seed, man. If you're alpha and you got that shit going on, you could be broke. You could be living on a fucking cot in your backyard and they'll still fuck you.
Listen, man, a man who's an A+ at one thing is gonna fuck hotter women than a man who's a B- at everything. Doesn't matter how much money you have, man. If you got the game, if you got the gift of gab, if your abs are the A+, if you have A+ dick game, if you have A+ charm game, yeah, you're gonna fuck hot chicks, dude. You have plenty to offer.
Well, here's some of the problems right here. You're saying that she's a 9.2 and you're dealing with bad behavior and you keep putting yourself down. These are some of the problems that you're having. This is why a lot of guys don't win, because I'd rather have a 9.2 with bad behavior than no woman at all and be happy. I love women just like you do, but I love myself that much more, and I just cannot put up with, and I don't care how beautiful she looks. If she is disrespecting my name and my kingdom, my castle, or anything that's associated with me, she is gone. I am not, and I will not be with a beautiful woman that has bad behavior. Yet you are doing that, and then on top of that, you're using the excuse of, well, I don't have money now, and I don't know what a woman would want to. Women don't want to hear that. The red man was saying, you don't have to have money to get these women. There are just behaviors that you must display to win at the end, man.
Yeah, in fact, that's the side you want to be on. Like the fact that you're not a beta bucks guy, like literally you can't be for them. It's actually, you could work that in your favor because you don't have that to offer anyway. So focus on the alpha side, exactly like Rollo talks about. Up the alpha, up the alpha, up the alpha. That's where you want to be anyway. You want to get laid, have an awesome time. Well, focus on that stuff. The behaviors, the display, all that stuff.
Talk radio. Goodbye.
Oh, I guess that was.
By the way, if that guy's still listening, I'll say you're running basically a Van Helsing game, is what we call it lately. You know, you're banging. It sounds like he's manipulating, playing with a chick who has a legitimate cluster B disorder, or that's what he believes anyway. But I think his frame will get a lot stronger if he kicks her out of his life. Mm-hmm. And he walks away from that. I've been doing that lately with these crazy chicks, these crazy plates I have. I'm like, man, I've had enough. I'm like, get the fuck out, get out, get out. And you feel better for it. You're like, fuck yeah, I'm a bang.
I'll tell you another reason why you feel better is because you understand that you have options, and there is no better demonstration of higher value, DHV, than letting a woman go, than kicking her out, than kicking her to the curb. Nothing will turn her on more or make her like, she will either leave your life or she will become obsessed with your life. You will
never get more nudes than when you kick a chick out of your life.
Exactly. No better DHV than leaving chick. I was going to say here now is that this guy has what I call a sniper mentality. He thinks there can only be one. There can be only one. You know, there can only be the chick that is hot. I mean, and granted, I understand. You know, especially BPD chicks, histrionic chicks. Yeah, crazy in bed, crazy out of bed. You're just going to have to be careful of that, because if that's what you want to do, if you want to have fun and enjoy that for a while, it's like doing drugs once. It's like, yeah, heroin is fun once. You know, but I mean, but look at the rest of your life having to deal with that and trying to chase that high and everything else. And that's the thing is like, do you want, like, I like what these guys are saying is like, yeah, you need to boot her out, or you need to at least turn her into a plate, because the more you singularly focus on her, the more power she's going to have over your thinking. And she already does, because the guy wouldn't be calling in if that wasn't the issue right now. What he wants is he wants us to give him permission to see her. That's what he wants. He wants all this dudes on this panel to say, good on you, dude. Yeah, stick with it. See if you can, get something else out of it. And it's like, in the long term for the rest of your life, is that really what you want to do? I mean, you're already in a shit situation with your ex-wife and your money and everything. You already have to fucking be Superman just to, what do you say? A side hustle and everything else. You got to do all of that just to keep the fucking lights on. And you got this in your life? No.
You can listen, man. He's dealing with it, and he said she's a hot 46-year-old. I don't know. Melania Trump looks good, but she's a rare breed, and I don't know what she looks like.
There are no 9s after 32.
Right, but the thing is this, man, is why deal with a 46-year-old when you can deal with a 36 or a 26-year-old, right? Yeah. Listen, man, at the end of the day, you make 100 G's a fucking year. Doesn't matter what the fuck it's going, as long as you got your game in your frame, man. I think this guy might be teetering on a little bit of one-itis. I think he might be the hottest girl that I've ever had sex with, and she's Ukrainian. She's got the accent, but dude, she's 10 years away from getting her AARP card. Like, get the fuck out of here with that, man.
She is 4 years away from menopause.
Yeah,
already.
Rollo's concept of a sniper mentality is like a precursor to one-itis, definitely.
Yes.
Or it sets the table for it. So I totally co-sign what Donovan's saying with that. With that said, I think we should start wrapping up, gentlemen. Any last words before we wrap up today's show? We're about 2 hours now.
I would be interested to know what the consensus is on the 22 convention. I think you and I have already discussed what we have seen as the potential threats to that. But if anybody wants to hit me up either by email or on Twitter or whatever else, and let me know what your thoughts are on the 22 convention, being that it is all men speaking red pill issues, but to a female audience. I'm still not I'm not optimistic about any of the the information really sinking into women. I think women will probably end up going to this because it will fulfill an indignation need. They want to grind their teeth and go, oh, these guys are the
let them get rich off of that.
But then I do like the idea of sort of sending a message to the next generation, because the millennial generation is lost. I'll tell you that right now. The current generation of women, but hopefully, hey, maybe my daughter's generation or the generation that comes after her, hopefully they can get the message and they can understand the big fucking mess that the previous generations fucked up for them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm curious to know that. Again, I'm just going to drop this here. My private show, my own channel, will be tomorrow at 1:30 Pacific. So
how'd they find YouTube channel, Rollo? They just go to YouTube and search for Rational Male?
Yeah, you can just search for my name, The Rational Male. It's just The Rational Male. You'll find it there.
We'll put a link to it from Redman Group too, in the video and then on the channel. I've been meaning to do that. I saw you launch.
I'm going to get into basic questions. I like the old school stuff. So if you just started reading my book and you're like, what's one-itis and what's a soulmate myth and what's hypergamy, and if you have basic questions and stuff like that, or maybe you're in a situation where one of these basics is applying to you, please, I can't take calls at this stage, but I will answer questions from the chat.
Cool. Anyone else last words? Steve, really appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Steve, I look forward to doing something with you, man. We gotta go on Donovan's show and tag team it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you need help with phone things, anything I can do for you, just let me know. I can do that for you as well. Just be in the background and help you take phones. Anything I can do for either one of y'all guys. Oh, all you guys, Karl, all you guys. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be. Everyone that's listening. The reason why I'm so giddy is because it's very rare that you get around men, and I know a lot of y'all might not, who are watching us, don't understand, but when you get around men, this is how life is. This is what we're striving to be, is being around great men with great knowledge that we can pass on to each other, so that if you are looking to create a legacy, to go beyond your life and create that in your young boys and things like this is the place you need to be with, because you have nothing but great men giving you great value, good life lessons and things like that. Soak all this up and tell 5 of your friends who might need the help, listen to these guys, because they are the forefront of this movement that is going to change the world one day. If it's not, it's changing right now, but it is going to change one day to our favor.
Yeah, I think we found a new speaker for this year for 2019.
Yeah. We got 2 events coming up, lots of space.
Yeah,
Karl, you around?
Yeah, I had one thing I wanted to say before we leave. I was featured in the Washington Post this week in an article by Donna Zuckerberg. Now, she did slightly misquote me, and she may have implied that I had an issue with people of color. And I just want to say that I'm going on a date with the Vietnamese chick in 25 minutes or so. So I have nothing against that. I'm a very equal opportunity.
Well, I'm very discriminatory. There's a certain color of women that I don't date. And do you know how many shits I give? That's the way it is. I think the 22 convention is a brilliant idea. It's a great idea. And for anyone who doesn't think it's a good idea, that's fine. Go fuck yourself. But I think
I love the company I keep.
I want to help women because women, man, listen, man. Women.
Steve in there?
Yeah, no, I don't go. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'll go after you, Ray. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Donovan, go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, women, and Anthony said this best, sitting right next to me on the Red Man Group Live. We as men, we have the manosphere, we have the red pill, we got the Red Man Group, we have the 21 convention. Women don't have anything. They literally do not have anything. Not only are women not interested in helping other women, even when they are, they're trying to help themselves. You think Lauren Southern really gives a shit about making women feminine again? No. Women like this, most of their subscribership are men, just thirsty guys. So, and like I said at the top of the show, women have had 6 decades to get this right. And it's clear that they're not going to get this right without the help of a man. Women needed men to start feminism. They're going to need men to vanquish feminism and bring back femininity. So I think it's a great idea.
I just want to say real quick on this 22 thing. This is for women. Listen, ladies, it takes a thief to catch a thief. But it takes a man to teach you how you can't get played. Because the great thing about these men here that you don't understand is they're not chicken soup for the soul. They're not Steve Harvey. They're not a shoulder to cry on. They are the authentic truth that you need, that you have been blinded by through society. If you can just follow what these men are going to be saying and teaching you, then maybe you'll have a chance at finding the quote unquote love that you've been searching for. But you've got to stop listening to your single friends, those losers on the radio, and start listening to men who know what they're talking about. Because if you want a man, you got to listen to a man.
Oh, yeah, right. I want to make sure I co-sign here too what Donovan was saying, and Steve now too. Donovan put it really well that women for 60 years have demonstrated through action an inability to clean up their act. I believe firmly that there are very serious problems with modern women today in the West, America, Canada, and otherwise. And that I agree with Donovan. There's no way they're going to clean up their act without masculine male leadership. At the end of the day, they got to clean their own shit up. But I think a good kick in the ass with an event like this, good leadership, solid leadership, positive masculinity is the way to get that ball rolling. And we got to do it. This is time to do it. Let's fucking kick ass and crush it. We're going to pull the best guys from 21Con. It's going to be awesome. Minimum 3-day event. I might even extend it to 4-day, just like 21Con. We'll see as that event gets closer. That's going to be spring 2020 right here in Orlando, Florida. And I'm fucking excited. That'll be in the presidential election cycle too, which is pretty exciting. See the red pill blow up, mainstream and all that. With that said, we got to wrap up today's show. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me on the show. Everybody, Karl from Black Label Logic, Donovan from the Sharpe Reality, Rollo from the Rational Mail, Steve from, how does your website again? manmindset.com. Sorry about that. I'll get it next time. I've been Anthony Johnson here from 21 Studios, today's host. Make sure you smash the like button on this video, share it with as many people as you can, as many men. Also, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/redmangroup. And we also have a Reddit community that Ryan Stone set up. It is at, I believe it's at reddit.com/r/redmangroup. Oh, yeah. Check it out. Join us there. Smash the like button. Appreciate all the super chats. That last guy who left one too for $9.99, I will get to that one myself and some other speakers probably too in the comments after the video post. With that said, we're going off air. Appreciate it, guys. See you next Saturday,
guys.
10 a.m.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Peace.
Hell yeah.